Uh-oh. What the hell? What's the problem here, bro? What's happening? What's degrading? Why is everything breaking? Hold on. Every single thing I'm trying to, well, here, let's just do that, and that should help it. There we go. Hold on 1 second. I think we're probably fixing it. I'm just thinking, and yep, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. We're good now. There's a little bit of a hiccup there. Okay, so we're streaming on bro shows now on YouTube instead of my other channel. And there was an echo, so I had to play with that. But we kicked off almost on time. And for those of you over on the Patreon, I know this is number 4 in the series. I will upload directly to the 10 tier, the other 3. So they'll be put in like a playlist for your access. But I wanted to just kind of get this rolling here. We've got Edda Reborn, episode 4. Baldr is Loki, is Abel, is Lucifer, is Baal. And we will get into that today. Hopefully we'll have enough time to go far into it. Oh, you know what I forgot to do completely? Of course. I forgot to completely change the shit on FTJ Media. Because that's just how I roll. It's too many steps. Dan doesn't do steps. Okay, so now it says YouTube Googlement instead of the Edda. And now it's going to be stuck like that until we're done. So for those of you who do tune in, this is the Edda. Edda. Hold on, let me type it in. There's so many things to set up, and then it's like I miss one sometimes because it's everything else gets automatically transferred. The only one that doesn't is FTJ. So I set it up in like 15 different spots, and then I have the one thing that's on Rumble, the RTMP thing, and that sends all the information out that I just typed all in. The only thing it doesn't do is FTJ. So that's the one that I miss. Let me go ahead and do that. All right, now we know. And everybody knows. Nobody's have to battle. Forgive the stupid title over on. It says YouTube Googlement assaults me over old video. That was yesterday's video. God damn it. Nothing ever works right. If you're over on Patreon, drop a comment in the comment section so I know that you're here. The chat is using auto moderation. What does that mean? AI is going to decide whether or not it's offensive. I'm good, thanks. Just double check also, if there's an echo, please let me know. I think I fixed it. But that would be annoying as heck for people watching if there's an echo while we're going over this stuff. It'll make your brain hurt. And let me just do one more test on the desktop audio, make sure that's still connected properly, and then we'll be on our way. Let's just do something simple like that. Not like that.
So you know how Windows 10 is going out of support in like days? Oh, you don't know that? Well, you're in for...
Okay, cool, it works. We're good. Let's move on. No. I don't want to be there. Let's just put us right there. As you can see, old Jesus there. That's supposed to be Vlad the Impaler on the right. I'm not sure what AI thinks of Vlad the Impaler to put that together, but it is what it is. All right. So let's get to display capture. Get rid of that. Pull up these. And we are on scene 18. And here we go. It says Loki, Lucifer, Baldr, Abel, Seth, or the Green Man visits King Thor's or Arthur's banqueting hall at Vidara, and quarreling with Yasas, which means lords. They, if you want to think of them as knightly people, or mayors, governors of territories within the the territory of the Goths in Cappadocia. You can look at it like that. And they weren't all Gothic. They assigned people from the indigenous that were there to lord over those who were worthy and of noble character. So the quarreling with the Asas is cast out of their heaven, which is Himin in Hittite, by Gun, Gawain, or Cain, which is Loki, which is Thor's son, or Miok, Michael, disclosing historical origin of the expulsion of Lucifer, meaning Loki, Lucifer, or Abel, or Typhon, all these names, from heaven by Saint Michael. Saint Michael being, of course, Cain. Now we know. Now you know. And that's the source for Sir Gawain. All right, it says the peace or truce between Adam and the Edenites also permitted of the famous visit of Loki, or Lucifer, or Baldr, who's also Baal, by the way, when the sacrifices are made later to the bull-headed furnace. They're sacrificing to a real dude named Baal that they've deified. Named Baldr, I'm sorry. That they're literally sacrificing to Abel. They're literally sacrificing to Lucifer. Or Typhon. Whomever the geographic and cultural location will be will determine who they, how they perceive that. But Abel, Set, or Seth, you see how this carries over into the Osiris stuff? And into the Zeus with Typhon. And who carried it over? The cult. The moon cult brought the stories with them and inverted them to make themselves the goodly heroic, and utilizing not just inversion, but deception and lies. Also, oftentimes placed the heroes in a position of being perpetually or eternally suffering in one way or the other. Like they would be tortured because that's how they roll. That's how vindictive and envious and spiteful they are. They hold a grudge like no other. It's like mafia stuff. Okay. So the peace or truce between Adam and the Edenites also permitted of the famous visit of Loki, Lucifer, or Baldr to King Adam Thor's or Arthur's banqueting hall of Idara, or the Gothic heaven, where he is disclosed as the human original of the intruding, truculent green man of the Arthur legends. But his malevolent and brutal quarreling with all the Asas, which means the lords, and especially with his young host Cain, Gawain or Michael, who was the official master of the ceremonies, the feast, in the Gothic banqueting hall, necessitated his expulsion thence by the latter. These stirring events are detailed in a remarkably fine dramatic Edda, which Edda means knowledge. This is your Bible, guys. Entitled Loki's Jibes, I think that's how you say that, which significantly exists in its manuscripts from at least 6 centuries before Shakespeare, yet it is couched in generally similar style to that now regarded as Shakespearean, and thus disclosing with the other dramatic Eddas some of the hitherto unsuspected floating ancient Britain dramatic material which presumably inspired the Bard of Avon. Now, I've got another question. Before we continue on, I need some help, feedback, please, 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 please respond. I had to make some adjustments on the filters, thinking that I'm doing it better than before, because when I just tilt my head a little bit like this, when I listen to the playback, OBS is filtering the F out of my video, out of my, the gain's all screwed up. So I need to know, how are we hearing my voice? Because when I play outside video in a tab from the desktop, it's much louder. And when I talk, or if I just slightly move my head back or like this, if I'm talking to the side so I can see the keyboard or the screen, I dropped in volume so low. It's not that I'm mumbling, really. I'm speaking the same volume. I'm just not directly on top of it like that. So I tried to fix that. Thank you, Karen. And so when I say things, there's different levels you say certain things too, just for stylization of speech. So when you say things it's if I'm not directly over the top of it, I listen to the playback on Rumble and it's like whoop, and then whoop, and I'm like, what? And that's through a speaker. All right, let's get back into it. These stirring events are detailed in a remarkably. You already said that part. Where are we at? Thus disclosing the dramatic as floating ancient Britain dramatic material was presumably inspired by the Bard of Avon. That's where we ended. In common with the other dramatic Eddas, remember, books of knowledge, histories is another way of looking at that. It is rich in terse old British colloquialisms that are still current, as seen in the literal renderings of the text, now given in far greater extent than heretofore. This lay is also especially important in giving to the same personages in the one poem so many of their different titles, epithets, or aliases, regnal, religious, or territorial, in addition to their own personal names, a feature employed by Homer and other old classic poets. Thus, Gunnar Cain receives his epithet of Sif, Eve's bairn, and titles of Duke, as in Marduk. Remember how horrifically altered and poisoned they made Marduk? Everybody's like, oh, that guy's a bad dude. Bel and Baal are not the same thing, and that's what gets the confusion there with Marduk. And listen, MAGA is also a name for him. MAGA. Okay? MAGA means son or kinsman. Remember? It's a title. And Miok, Michael, Vidara, presumably from being born there. Aegis, his Sumerian regnal title of Azag. And Greek Iakos. Bauj, his Sumerian regnal alias of Bacchus, Bakus, the Latin Bacchus, and Bragi, or poet. Bragi or Bragi means poet. Thor, in addition to that title, is also called Odin, Ode of the End. Now, I'm not sure if we got to the point in the Edda yet where they made a distinction that Bacchus, it's not the Bacchus of the degenerate. It's the Bacchus Dionysian. Basically, and what's interesting is that in this Eddic lay, this stanza or whatever the poem, he is the master of ceremonies. He's the pourer of the mead. What do you know about Bacchus? What do you know about Dionysus? He's they deified him as the god of wine, among other things. But everything is so convoluted and distorted over time. This is your origins of these things, and this is how you can see the poison of the moon cult infiltrating, co-opting, and distorting everything that you perceive of the past, because they put themselves into it, and over time they just completely drive into the ground, so you don't want to look because it's repulsive to people with sensibilities. Thor, in addition to that title, is also called Odin, Ode of the Inn, Iendrid, i.e. Andara or Indara or Andrew, George, Homesdaler, and the Hammerer. The Hammerer. You know who else was a Hammerer? The Alaskan Avenger. He said, pound on child harmers. Eve is called, besides Sif, or the Sibyl, also Freya, friend. And that's the tie into the Orlinda book and the Frisians. Gifon and Idun, Idun, Lady of the Rowan Apple basket. And Loki is also called Lopt, or the Lion. And Baldr, both by Eve and by himself, calls himself Baldr. It is also noteworthy that the later bards who modernized this lay, oh, by the way, Baldr was also known as the raging ravenous bull. So that's why you get the bull head for the symbolism when you're looking at these furnaces that they burn children in sacrifice to him, regardless if they lost sight of what that it was even about 2,000 years later or 3,000 years later. This is the origin of who that is and why it came back up as Baal the bull, right? Bel and Baal, different things. Bel is actually Cain. Okay, moving on. It is also noteworthy that the later bards who modernized this lay have taken most of these titles as representing different individuals, just as did the later ignorant and expanding myth-mongering priests in Babylonia, Egypt, India, and Greece. And what is the common thread there? These moon cult or the Saturn cult, serpent cult, child sacrificers followed us everywhere we went to undo and tear down and erode and destroy everything that we built. They are like the Langoliers in Stephen King's story. They come and they destroy history. They erase it. They are like a force, not any different really than what the Muslims do to quote-unquote pre-Islamic architecture structure, evidence of a past that didn't have anything to do with their Allah, you know what I mean? And the same thing that the Christians did when they came towering through and called everything pre-Christian pagan. See a theme here? Why are these religions set up and who sets them up? It's the remnants of this cult. Regardless of how positive or pure the stories of Jesus or whatever else are, everything is co-opted. Everything is controlled by bad people, like the United States, for instance. The idea and concept of a constitutional republic is amazing. It's awesome. It could be improved, sure. But they haven't followed that in forever because something co-opted, infiltrated, and changed the nature of it. Still letting us believe on the outside, on the surface, that there's all this wonderful freedom, but go ahead and try to claim those freedoms and see the true reality. All right. And the misled by the woodenness have spelled Eve's Freya title in several places as Frigg, which is actually El of hell. Complete opposite. That's the Woden's biatch, and she's the matriarchal sorceress, the head honcho of child sacrifice, torture, and pharmakeia. A confusion also existing among Anglo-Saxons without noticing how they stultified themselves thereby. So Freya becomes accidentally Frigg in some of the tree rewritings when they're trying to preserve it for their history. They make that mistake. The scene opens characteristically with the with the sinister Loki, Lucifer, or Satan. Hear that? Loki, Lucifer are saying this is a real person going into Hymen, which is what they call their citadel, banquet hall, whatever you want to call it, this structure on top of the mountain over there in Cappadocia. So Lucifer, Loki, Satan, Baldr disclose outside banqueting hall the sons of God, craftily trying to pump the cook, that sounds weird, before entering the hall to discharge his fiery bombs of envenomed spite. Loki or Baldr quotes to cook outside door of banquet hall. Say thou cook, and thou shalt not go. Afore thou gangst another foot from me, say what have the Aryas, the Aryans, in the inn been chattering on over their ale, over their drink. These divine, he's saying it like a snot, like sarcastic. These divine sons of Sig, the cook, of their weapons, and doom law, and compassion in fight. The divine sons of Sig quoth, Asas, which means lords, and Alfs, the Aryas, Aryans, of the inn. But not one man of them speaks aught a friendly word of thee, of you. And then Loki says, in shall I gang into Aegis's hall, which he's basically saying is Cain's or Michael's hall, and see the assembly about that. I'll see about that. Yol or Joel and Ada bitter spice. I bring the Asa's sons to blend their mead with venom. Oh, he's trying to poison people, but now I think he's saying it in a metaphoric way because he's going to poison them with his presence. There's a lot of roots here in the characteristic poisoning by these people of this moon called these Oives throughout history. Wells, throwing dead bodies in it, poisons of all kinds, right? And all the way up until the injections that they stab in your arm now. And a lot of them had to do with snake venom. Okay, so anyway. Cook says, fetch you they will. If in you gang to Aegis Hall to see the assembly there, ruffian and rogue, if ever you go near the wholesome regs, which means regies or kings, they may wipe it off on you. I'm changing some of the words so it's a little bit easier to understand. Loki to the cook. Fetch your, Loki to the cook says, fetch your cook will I, if you, scullery me. With one more sore scathing word, richly will I swear if you say more. Loki enters the Aegis banquet hall. Aegis is, which is again, Michael or Miok or Cain, Thor's son, not the bad guy like you were told. This is the bad guy. This is Abel. Loki is Abel. Okay. He's called Abel, written as Abel in some of the in the passages, and that's where you get the Semitized or whatever you want to call that, Hebrified, whatever, Abel from. So Loki inside the hall. Thirsty I come to this hall. Lop the lion from long way. So he calls himself that. Lords, I bid ye give to me one drink of your merry mead. Loki, again, after no response. Why quiet are ye so? Tush means quiet, right? Or ye throng of Goths, and never a word for mighty me? Mighty me, what a douche. Seat or standing will ye me at the assemblies, or bid me hence? Gun or Cain as master of the feast, seat or standing at their assembly, the Asas or the lords never will give thee. The Asas will know what assembly the old skulking wolf Gammoner should get. Loki to Thor. So he's talking over Cain who addressed him. He's talking to now his father. That's a sign of disrespect, right? He's like, trying to go over his head. Mind thee, ode of the inn, that in days of yore we two blended blood together in battle. El to pre, let thee hinder not a moment, and seize a snug place for us together by the board. Thor to Cain, rise thee, Vidar, let the wolves' father sit at the assembly, lest aside Loki quote his foul stuff in Aegis' hall. Then, says the text, then Vidar, Cain or Aegis, stood up and bore a cup to Loki, who before drinking, quote to the Asas. Seating himself, hail Asas, hail Asa ladies, hail lords, hail lord ladies, and all the great holy gods, all save that one, Asa in the inner seat, that braggart bard on the bench, Cain. The guy who gives him the drink, he's talking shit to, and he's the lord of the banquet hall. It's Cain. Cain, consolidatingly to Loki, more mead and much will I give thee as my fare, and better it to thee also with my own Bragi's poem. So thou yieldst no offense to the lords, nor grimly roustest the Goths against you. Loki to Abel or Cain, ash sticks and bougie bangles are the arms for minors, not of men. So he's saying, if you speak of poetry, you're a bitch. Because that's what he basically said. Thou bench-sitting vain braggart of Asas and Alfs inside here today, thou art the wariest of fight and the shyest of shooting. He just called him a non-male coward. Cain to Loki or Abel, I think that if we were outside, think, sometimes no. I know if we were outside and I was not in the assembly foreman and you not a guest in Aegis' hall, your head I would have in my hand and let you have that little for your lies. And Abel, Cain, able to Cain, right? So we're talking about Loki, we're talking about Baldr, but he is able to Cain. Snailed art thou by sitting, skilled art thou inside your own Georgetown. Braggart bench croucher, away thou cur and frightened for thyself, and think not for to fight for it. Eve as Eden, impelingly to Cain. I bid thee, Cain, Sif's Baron Duke. So she's addressing herself as like the mother of the Duke. All well-wishing MAGA, Michael, that thou are not at Loki's foul stuff in thy own Aegis Hall. Loki to Eve. Quiet thee, Eden. Wow, real nice guy. You quote I, of all women, the very worst yearner after lust, since you layest your white arms round thy brother's bane. He's talking about Adam. They're not brothers, okay? It's potentially that they're both of Gothic origin. He might actually be Germanic, Loki. But it's more like a figure of speech, or a, you know what I'm saying? You can call anybody a brother. What's up, brother? Eve to, or he's also maybe because of the level of success or stature or status of Thor, he's kind of like latching onto that same brother, meaning equal, as if he's somehow just as like on the same level, you know what I mean? Eve to Loki. Loki, quoth I, says follow stuff in Aegis' Hall. Loki's abuse of Goths and their hospitality. Eve to Cain. Eve to her son. Bragi be calm, thou rich in beer. You've been drinking. I will thou wrangle not with him, nor fight. Adam Thor to Loki. Erring art you, Loki, and out of your wits. Out of your mind, that you grimly makest a foe of Eve, than the old warlock LD. I think her more witted, and quite even with myself. LD being El or Elu. Remember, that's Baldr Cain's mom, the wicked sorceress. Loki to Thor. Quiet thee out of the inn. You kennest. Thou kennest thou never dealt fights with fairness. Oft gavest you to them that were serfs and made slaves into seigneurs. Loki goes on to shower obscene abuse on Adam and Eve. I wish they wrote that part out. Till the latter is roused to exclaim indignantly. We didn't need the abridged version, Ellie Waddell, because now it's all lost to history since you decided to short note it. Come on, man. Eve to Abel. Quiet thee. If inside the family in Aegis' Hall there was a son like Baldr, thou'd never come out alive from the Asa's sons, for they'd verily slay thee in fair fight. This is Eve saying this to Abel. Loki, Abel, to Eve. Then as you wilt, Freya, that I don't against you flare more of my mean stuff. I'll rid thee of myself. Thou'd ride in future by thyself, and I, Baldr, will sit in the cellar of hell. Hear a stream of more foul abuse from Loki. Eve warns Abel of disaster. Loki is Abel, remember. Flapping is your tongue. I guess it's got the foremost of you, and tries to overawe me with yells. Wroth with thee are the Asas. Wroth with thee is Asi for ER of your. Grieved am I that home you may fare. The wolf I see lying afore the mouth of the river are, until thy ripping up of the Regis. Thy moment is nigh unless thou quiet, tongue bound, you baleful, fucking shit, you baleful, god damn it, what am I, retarded? Tongue bound is right, tongue bound, thou baleful smiter. I've never. Why am I having a list? What was that all about? Brain fucking free. What is that? Loki to Thor. With gold thou boughtest Gimme's daughter Eve. So he's saying you bought her and sold for her thy sword. You made yourself weak, is what he's basically saying there by giving up the battle, so to speak. When Muspel's hell's son ride over murky wood against thee, fetch thee then we shall, and swerve your way. Thor to Loki. Ailed art you. You're drunk, bro. Loki, and out of your mind. Why not loosen off, Loki? You're over drinking a wealth of old wine makes you unmeasured and unmanned. Loki to Thor. Quiet thee, homedaler. You was led by me in early days. A hideous, restless, loathsome life lying guarding the frontier. With muddy back you may I be, and awake as warden of the gods. They've already had a scuffle, right? Scotty, Lady Asa, let be thou Loki. Mind thee not for long thou go, larking loose-tailed, for thee skulking wolf in the rimy cold maga, which means Cain or Michael, with gut gear will bind goodly well. More abuse from Loki. Eve forgivingly offers Abel a cup of wine after all that shit. Hail to thee now, Loki, and take this brimming chalice full of aged mead. And you notice, and every time that they do this, they never once poisoned him. They didn't stoop to his level and just poison him and be done with the freaking nuisance. Which, hey, I'm not saying that would have been a bad thing. Loki or Lucifer expelled from heaven. But let the one who holds it with the Lord's sons be loosened from your slander. It was all in vain, however. Loki's malignant and foul tongue could not be gagged, and it roused the long-suffering Adam Thor to exclaim. Now think about this. What will you think of as Lucifer being cast, or Apollyon being cast out of heaven by Saint Michael, was basically just some drunk asshole getting kicked out of a club, out of a bar. Kind of takes the woo woo out of it, huh? A little bit. Some drunken, warful, murderous asshole, no doubt. But it wasn't any pointed-tailed, pointy horned dude or a dragon. It's just some warrior drunken asshole who is replete in children's blood because he's a sick, mass murdering fuck, and a sorcerer, and a master of disguise. He's so cleverly calling himself. But nonetheless, some asshole at a bar, some asshole at their club gets kicked out. And then bouncer Cain ties him up. He bound Lucifer. He zip tied the guy. He didn't cast him into chains into a fiery hell. None of that happened. Thor to Loki. Quiet thou raging white. But they did cast him hell. They sent him back home. Hell is Eden. They did cast him out of heaven because Himen is the name of their place. It's like having it's like club heaven, the nightclub heaven, and you get sent back home, which is referred to as hell or Eden or Rome, ROM. Thor to Loki, quiet thou raging white. Thou shalt feel Thor's hammer. That mauler will knock thy malign speech afar up. Will I warp thee to the east way and set thee down, unmanly one sore. Unmanly one sore. Loki to Thor. Of east faring thou shouldst never say any sayings for that, since thou wert once there, knocked in my hand thimble wheel. O-E Endry. That's talking about the wound. And thou'st not then, thou wast Thor. I quote to the Asas and to the Asas' sons that what I hugged in my mind, but for thee only may I outgang, for I know that you will fight. Okay. Loki Abel is led out of heaven of the Goths by Cain or Miok, whom he thus threatens. Loki to Abel, or Abel to Cain on expulsion. Ale brewest you aegis for the elder folk you likest, to sit in the assembly under George, which is also known as Thor. But all the ale that you owned here in the inn, Loki's flame will lick afar and burn your back. For the Hebrew, New Testament, Greek, and Arthurian Green Man legendary versions of this scene, with details and abode of the Green Man as Eden, and names of King Arthur's knights and ladies derived from the Edda, see Appendix 1. We'll get there eventually. And in Indian sculpture, you have Michael, or Aegis Azag, bruising the head of the serpent chief Loki. See, stepping on his head. See? Or Baldr, Abel. From the 18th century brass image of the young sun hero Krishna, after Moore's Hindu pantheon. So Krishna is Cain. Oh, Michael, Archangel Michael. Isn't that something? Now, at least the outline or the right of it is, I'm sure they add their own embellishments and their own cultural fine tuning to each of these things as they go. But you also have to understand the reason why these stories are going these places, because our people are the ones creating the civilizations in those areas. It's not the locals just rising up into modernization and civilization and laws and rule of law. No, it's our people introducing that for the benefit of all people, including the ones that are the quote-unquote natives. So as we go from place to place and seed civilization throughout history, the story goes with it. Another indication that it's the same people establishing civilizations everywhere in the old world. The Gothic Aryans, or the Shields, if you will. The Binding of Loki Baldr by Michael Cain, just kidding. Loki Baldr, or Abel, appears again to have attacked the Goths, for he is referred to in the Central Edda as having been found by Michael or Cain, a punishment he was warned of in the previous lay if he persisted in his career of raiding and destruction. The Central Lay thus sings of his enchainment. Garm wolf curses Miok, or Michael or Cain. Afore the Nipa rocks of hell, fastening may be slitten when Freaky, or Baldr, runs again. Fettered she seems lying under the Ewer grove, the lie-yearning Leaky, Loki the evil-thoughted. There he is, bound. He's got his hands behind his back. But they know how Vala's, or Baldr's, victors' bonds to snap, holding him so hard those stubborn bonds. There sits the Sin Queen El, beside the loosened sinews, oh her wily paramour gladless, as in no glad. Know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? There he is, bound again. Loki Baldr bound in ancient Britain from a pre-Christian or transition cross at Kirby Stephen Westmoreland. Oh, by the way, there were tons and tons of statues, wall art, reliefs, and scrolls, pages, writings that also told of our history that Christianity burned, broke, and destroyed. And we went over that a little bit yesterday through reading from here. They tried to erase the Gothic Aryan people off the planet. So everybody who is of the European type, jumps on Christianity and acts like that's their saving grace is so wonderful. Well, they're all doing that based on the power of their Jesus character, who happens to be your Thor, who happens to be your Cain or your Thor. Okay. So why do you need them to reroute your energy, your psychological perceptions of things, and your sensibilities and your sympathies? Why do they get to control it? Because they create a character and suck out the truth from yours and then distort it in the way that they want to. And here we go, Christian Zionism. Hello. No, we don't need that. There was no original sin. There was no need for somebody to come by and take your shit for you, meaning die for your sins. None of this was necessary. I'm not saying anything against Jesus. What I'm saying is, why let the demons of the moon cult create, fashion, and control that which you believe and do that above your own people, culture, and history? Don't you think that maybe it'd be a little disastrous for us if we keep letting them lead us by our noses? Enough is enough. You're not going to hell because you're not a Christian. You're not going to hell because you're not a Catholic. You're not going to hell because you're not a fucking Judaic jacknut. In fact, you might be better off if you're not a Judaic jacknut. Rape of Asi Sif or Eve by Baldr or Abel. So, here's what happens next with this asshole. Now remember, Baldr is Abel is Baal. Now this should make more sense when they do the Zeus story of the raping of Europa, because that's not Zeus's character. Zeus is actually Thor. So when these moon cult scumbags get into Greece and they're given a Greek education by Ptolemy, they start writing in these stories into their own histories, turning Zeus into an asshole, because they basically altered him into being the character of Baldr or Abel or Lucifer. And Prometheus is created to be the actual Thor, in which they torture in the stories with having his liver pecked out for having gone against the gods, which just happens to be their demons, by enlightening mankind and making them independent of this sick cult of child sacrifice. So when they're talking about Baldr stealing Eve and raping her, that's translated or whatever you want to call that, into the story of Zeus, which is completely out of character. First of all, it's his wife. He didn't need to carry her off anywhere. But it's actually Baldr. It's this moon serpent cult piece of shit, Saturn cult piece of shit, who steals Thor's wife and rapes her. And he goes on a conquest to get her. And we'll see how this also plays into other Greek stories. After being loosened from his bonds, several of the older Eddic lays relate that Baldr or Abel retaliated on Adam, Thor, and Cain by dastardly abducting Eve, the threat of which, indeed, he had made previously in the banqueting hall of the Goths. This atrocious outrage on Adam, Thor, and the Goths, the rape of Eve by Baldr or Abel of Eden, although the culminating point of the Eddas and leading up to Adam's righteous conquest of the Garden of Eden with the destruction there of its depraved religion of Abel and his Edenites, and with such far-reaching beneficent effects on the world's progress, has nevertheless, strange to say, been wholly misrepresented by all previous translators and modern writers in the Edda, in regard to the personality of this miscreant. I want to read that one more time because this is really important. This atrocious outrage on Adam, Thor, and the Goths, the rape of Eve by Baldr or Abel of Eden. This is the true character of Abel. He's not some, No, Abel got what he deserved. Although, now you can see why I say it was written from the perspective, the Genesis and all this other bullshit, the Old Testament, the Tanakh was written from the perspective of the Saturn moon cult, the serpent cult, the child sacrificers, the pharmakeia practitioners, the sorcerers. Okay? It's from their perspective. Although the culminating point of the Eddas and leading up to Adam's righteous conquest of the Garden of Eden, with the destruction there of its depraved religion of Abel and his Edenites, who were practicing human and child sacrifice, torture, rape, all kinds of things. They were talking about how they chopped the pieces up in the bodies, they ate them, they cooked them, all this shit. And with such far-reaching beneficent effects on the world's progress, has, nevertheless, strange to say, it's not so strange when you realize who controls the information and how one person just follows the other person. They're breaking books about books. They're writing translations about translations. They don't ever actually go to the source and try to understand anything. This is the scheme and scam of quote-unquote experts, and they do this online all the time with all these social media freaking accounts that tell a story, but they're really just retelling a story, parodying it, hoping that this is the first time you've heard it, even though it's well-traveled. And with such far-reaching beneficent effects on the world's progress has, nevertheless, strange to say, been wholly misrepresented by all previous translators and modern writers on the Edda in regard to the personality of the miscreant. This has evidently been owing to Eddic scholars having all, without exception, accepted blindly the gross misreadings and mutilations of these texts by the Wodenist and Baldrist, the Satanist, you might as well just call him the Luciferian, Icelander Snorri, and by Teutonic scholars in view of Woden and Baldr, or Ty, having been the national deities of the Teutons, just as the Semitic Chaldees, harking back to the mother-son cult, and that's as disgusting as it sounds. Yes, they were fucking. That's where you get the story of Tammuz, the mother-son cult, Baldr and Heidi. She had Woden, the father of Baldr, but they were. This is straight into the very core of what Frankism is too. They do this to their children. This is Zionism. This is Kabbalism. This is the magic of Gander. This is what we're talking about here. 5,000 years old up until now. Same type of structure. Harking back to the mother-son cult of the unregenerate pre-Adamite matriarchs of Eden with its blood sacrifices, deified Baal or Abel, and exalted him into the good God, the beautiful, benign, and faithful Son, and made him a divine high priest and the dying God. Gee, what happens when you put somebody on a cross? For the salvation of the Semitic Chaldees, his chosen people. All right? This outrage is described in the Central Edda and in several of the secondary Eddic lays. In one of the latter, it is thus referred to. Skulker Baldr is named the wolf, who follows the baptized goddess. He's following Eve. She's been baptized into the monotheistic, benevolent creator worshipping sun cult of Thor. The core and the most purest form of what you would consider Christianity to represent now, except without the utter destruction of everything that came before it, so that it aligned well with their belief that everything that was before them was pagan, which is bullshit. They just don't want you to see the roots of things and realize that they're a cheap copy. So, I mean, how do you set a trap? Did you put if you're trying to set a trap for an animal, do you put in the trap things that it doesn't recognize, or do you put stuff in it that it recognizes in with your poison? So, hey, well, here's some truth. Oh, death. Well, that's religion. They give you things that you recognize, so it attracts you to it. Still poison at the end. Skulker Baldr is named the wolf, who follows the baptized Gothis into safeguarded Vidar, or Pteria, where they live. Even another hate, he, the son of the riotous old wolf, the son of Woden, shall fare away with the bride of heaven. Him in heaven, right? That's him taking Eve. The powerful tragic verses on this abduction in the central Edda begin with the great consternation excited in Adam Thor's capital by the discovery that Eve had been carried off by Baldr. Then go the Regis all to their rock stools in Parliament. In Parliament, 5,000 years ago. Who was more advanced than everybody else on the goddamn planet? We were. The great holy Goths and consult together on that. Where are the lewd traitors who have caused this lofty loss and given the maid of Odin, meaning Thor's wife, to the race of the Edenites? Thor alone rose there, thronged in burning mood. He seldom sits when such like things are asked. Oaths were gone against, and the sword and the sworn words. All the main treaties been both sides. The treaty was broken between the Edenites based on this offense. But let me just go ahead and read that properly. When such like things are asked, he seldom sits, right? Oaths were gone against, and the sworn words. All the main treaties between both sides betrayed. Thor quotes, I see for Baldr the bloody Tivo, another name for Baldr, Woden's bairn son, a warlock, which is a male wizard, right? Male sorcerer. A warlock felon's fate. Right. I like how he says that, because it's like, if you are a practitioner of this wicked, evil sorcery, they already had a punishment for you, and it was death. Go Goths. The stud-bred waxer of the inn, the Sibyl of the Hari, or the Aryans. Hari, another way to say Aryans. So if you ever want to code that, you can do that. HER for Aryans, AR for Aryans. Aryas also works, and Hari. Fine and mickle fair was she, as a mistletoe tine. The ward of them is maimed. My fine one sinned against, the hateful harmer. Wild Odin sees and shoot. This passage alone proves that Woden and Odin are not the same people, absolutely different. Odin is a Thor. This also proves that Thor, Zach Zeus, definitely wasn't the guy who went off and carried his own wife away to rape. So that whole story was butchered and poisoned by this moon cult, the Oives, before they were called that. Before they developed their false identity, because they are just this Saturn moon cult, serpent cult. They are this cult that never changes their ways. Isn't that right, Epstein? Still freaking cannibals, still child killers and torturers and rapists. All of them. Thus Baldr's brother warned. Bor of the Inn soon warned that he'd so seize Woden's son in one night's fight, that he'd neither wash his hands nor ken his hair before against Baal in battle. As Baldr's enemy he'd be, and Frigg great over in the cellars of Fen. Fen is also Fenrir, like the giant wolf in the butchered story. Fen is just another way of calling Valhalla, or the Eden's little cave where El resides and does her witchcraft, sorcery, and child sacrifice. And they are the serpent wolf cult, so hence Fen, a great mighty bunch of wolf tribe people, becomes, in the bastardization and mistranslations, a giant wolf that swallows a Thor, which makes no sense whatsoever, but whatever. On the woes of the Valhalla, yet know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? The rescue of Eve by Adam, Thor, and Cain is described in the next scene. Sometimes I alter what I'm reading just to make it less confusing, because he uses a lot of the same titles for the same person to kind of reinforce over and over again that we're talking about these people. And it's important to establish that. But sometimes it also, when you're comma chameleon, it kind of gets a little bit more confusing if you're not reading it yourself. Scene 21, kids. We're on page 255 of 452 pages. Some of it is like the last maybe 5-10 pages or something like that is more like definitions. So we're getting there. We're getting there. The British Edda, scene 21. Crusade of King Adam, George, and Cain for the rescue of Eve from Abel and Eden. Now let me go ahead and just do a check to make sure everything sounds goody up in here. Hello, Thomas Dwyer. There's got some people in here. Good to see you. If anybody else is in the chat over on FTJ Media, say hello. You guys are my peeps. Love yous. Same over on Rumble. I see Karen is in here. Karen's rocking the house. Looks like something happened. No one else is seeing shit. What's going on over here? Looks like Deuce Bigelow. What happened? They're definitely not sending out my stuff if that's the case. Wow. Holy crapola. Talk about stepping on my neck. What the hell, dude? All right, so on YouTube, I'm actually on a different channel today. Let's see if it shows up. Let's do a little fresh of the rees. Not sending out my... It is there, but it's just I'm the only one watching because there's three subscribers over here on Prosyphilopicus Bro shows. But since they took me off my regular channel, I figured whatever. We'll just build a new one. We're building a religion. We are building it better. Like that Cake song or wherever the hell that's from. And we quite literally are, except we're just restoring the one that was there. A little bit more noble when you say it like that, eh? I don't know if we need that one. I think we can X out of the... Wait, what am I doing? That one's good. That one's good. All right, so now is your time if you have anything to say while I'm dicking around here before we get back into it. If you got anything you want to chat at. If you guys are over on Patreon, say something. Hi! How's it going? And again, remember guys, if you are able to, and you should be able to, all you gotta do is click something. You should go to, and where are we at? This is 3. I want to go back to where I was. Let's go to today's. All right. I really don't know what's going on with Rumble. That's absolutely sad and pathetic. Okay. But if you're here, you can get our awesome hot sauces here. Boom. That's the SemperFryLLC.com. You're claiming some goddess? Okay, cool. I like it. Click that. Get your 90 essential nutrients right here using code BB5 to get a total of 15% or more off of your 90 essential nutrients that everybody needs. I have it right here. Right here. And more is on its way. And I have the trace elements in the other room. So yes, I am not only the president, but I'm also a client. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's the hair club thing. But Dr. Monzo's whole food supplements designed for Azure Well by Dr. Monzo. Okay, to his standards. Get it by clicking that. You go to Whole Food Multivitamin, I'm telling you how to get your 90. Whole Food Multivitamin, that's just like no other. If you get nothing else, you need this stuff. All right. Take four capsules if you're an adult, 2 if you're a child. Alaskan cod liver oil. If you're an adult, take one of these 1,200 milligram ones. If you're a child, maybe grab the 415 milligram ones. Dad and mom, grab those for your kids. So they're a little bit smaller, easier to swallow. And scroll down. I got this trace replacement ionic minerals myself. I gotta take that. I forgot to today. Point. The fulvic humic blend is all of your minerals, and that's about a 90-day supply if it's one person. If you're taking only the half dose, which is 1/16 to get started, then that'll last you 6 months at that dose. All right, and then scroll down, and you'll see. Did I already pass it? No, the IP6 Supreme, which I just showed you over here. That's the other component, and that's your magnesium, calcium, phosphorus. Okay. And then, of course, Food Star for 6% off all hot sauces and creatine. Send me some orders. Semperfry, SEMPERFRYLLC.com. Food Star, 6% off. get the greatest hot sauce and creatine on the planet. And then when you say, it's not, you just say this, and then you taste and you're like, oh, well, it's kind of right about that being like the greatest hot sauce on the planet. It's like, no shit. Do I lie? No. All right. And then patreon.com is right here. Boom. Yeah. And then go into where it says memberships. Boom. And there's the $3 a month, 7-day free trial, of course. This is the independent researcher, $5 tier. And then there's the deprogramming class tier, $10 a month. And you get a 7-day free trial. All right. Now, this one's going to have 100% of the stuff on it. This one will have 90% of the stuff of it unlocked to you. For $10 a month, that's like nothing. Pennies. Okay? $5 a month is half of nothing on pennies. And $3 a month, thanks. It's awesome, though. Appreciate any support. It's awesome. And there we go. So we did the things, Dr. Glidden. Remember, by March 6th, it's going to double. So if you want to lock in, you're going to want to do it now. And the monthly is going away. So if you feel more comfortable with the monthly installments, use my code now, Ballbusters. Click my link here. Sign up on the monthly, because after that, it's gone. You'll still be locked in on the monthly, but no one else will be able to get it after that. Which also means, on the other side of that, when you're saving $160, that scared the shit out of me. You'll be able to still get the annual for the reduced rate before it goes crazy. And thank you for Aaron Burring that stuff, Mr. Thomas Dwyer. He dropped a Hamilton on us, like Aaron Burr. Thank you for the content, it says, and then there it is, upside down smiley face for the dead Hamilton. I love it. Thank you, sir. All right, now let's get back to it before I have to go pee. All right, here we go. Crusade of King Adam George and Cain for the rescue of Eve from Abel and Eden. King Adam George of the Red Cross as the first crusader. Yeah, back when crusading wasn't just killing a bunch of people that you don't like the Aborigines and the Cathars, right? Before burning people alive just for the sake of it because they're quote-unquote sinning against your God. Yeah, that's kind of evil. What kind of God wants that? What kind of God wants that? Look, if they're not killing babies and children, which is the only time burning other humans alive or torturing them or killing them all en masse is justified. Whenever we find or come across those people, we don't hurt them. We let them out of jail. This is how our society runs. But God forbid you go against their God, or you are told by some Jew that you're an idol worshiper and the punishment is death. How are you an idol worshiper? These people worship demons and human form, and also the demons that they conjured as far back as 5,000 years ago. They didn't have a concept of God. They had a concept of the Saturn, the demonic presence that they invoked through ritual sacrifice to do bidding or to give them power or whatever, So they still do that, and yet they have the audacity to fabricate a religion and then say, oh, well, everybody who's not us is the nations and they need to be killed. Our God is going to do that. Our demon is going to do that. And, oh, by the way, you're idol worshippers. And not to mention the simple fact that they are the ones who also set up the structure of the church. I'm not saying of Christianity's thoughts and ideas. I'm talking about the church. They're the ones who did that. Who were the first popes? Who were the first this? Who were the first that? Who are still the Jesuits and all these other things? Crypto-craptos. Every last one of them. So what the hell? What in the ever-loving F are we talking about here? Every time I hear a rabbi tell us that we are these idol worshippers, I'm not even a Christian. But I understand that the benevolent creator, that there's a God. I've got nothing wrong with Jesus. If the story is true or not, that's the difference between me and I don't hang everything on that. It's not the beginning of time. It's not the beginning of goodness. It's not the beginning of morality. None of that. He was a reminder. He came from our crew. Our crew is a bunch of Jesuses. Okay? He was the one guy who came out in front and was the scout who delivered the message, and the message was thrown back in his face, and they killed him. And that was our cue. Once you send out the messenger and or the scout, and they get killed, you're supposed to come charging in with all your forces and eliminate that fucking that threat. But did we do that? No, we didn't. Our minds were too impaired by religion by then and by all the kinds of other shit. And we were broken up and confused and lost our way. And that was 2,000 years ago. Let's go back to 5,000 years ago. Remind ourselves who we are and understand there's still unfinished work. And speaking of Crusaders.gg, I'm not sure if they are constantly doing updates and changing things, but now I can't even log in. So does that mean I have to start all over again? Or do I just say, fuck it, sorry feds, see you tomorrow? I don't know. Like now it's saying it's sending me codes and then it's not showing up on my phone that there's any messages. So it's like, what are you talking about, biatch? There's no codes. There's no messages. Still not, in fact. Let's see. All inboxes. Yeah, no. Still nothing. So I'm thinking they just erased me. Because they're fake and gay. All right, Adam Thor George's expedition for the rescue of Eve from Abel and Eden was a true crusade. A true crusade. That's the important part there. A true crusade. And Adam is disclosed as the first crusader. Adam is the first crusader. You know all this. Do you see how much we were deprived of this story? They boiled it down. They neutered it and then made him into an asshole. Who do you think told the story? Who do you think told the story? Did they ever tell you it was Thor, a mighty king? A man who brought the reign of reason and justice and fairness to the world? And that's why they despised him, who brought agriculture and innovation to the people and protected and guarded them from demonic assholes like these people who are telling you the story? Gee, I wonder why they told the story the way they did. They didn't say, hey, we're a bunch of assholes who are really mad that we don't get to kill babies anymore. Because this Thor guy came along and stopped us, this Adam Thor guy. And by the way, one of our hottest chicks decided that she didn't want anything to do with us anymore and went and married him and got baptized. Yeah, she was really tall. She was an Amazonian goth, beautiful blonde-haired chick with blue eyes. And they made this kid called Cain, who slew our woodenest son Baldr because he was a piece of garbage and he deserved it. So we're gonna have to, you know what, on second thought, we should probably tell this story from a different perspective, from our perspective, but just a whole lot different. We're gonna have to change some things here. Yeah, okay. And in comes the Tanakh. Oh, bullshit. Give me a break. It's time to break the spell. We don't owe any of these people a goddamn thing. In fact, we do owe them something. It's called retribution. We've already found that Adam as George the Red is the historical original of St. George of the Red Cross of Cappadocia, now the patron saint of England. His red cross being discovered in my former works to be the emblematic of the sun. Yes. Do you know what that means? It's like the Iron Cross. Gets a little bit wider at the top there. Which he worshipped as the chief source of life in this world, the sun, which is true. So without the sun, there would be no life. Pretty good sciencing on our 5,000-year-old ancestor, huh? And he worshipped the God that created said sun. So some people say, oh, he's a sun worshiper. Yeah, okay, maybe. But it's the same thing. If you're focusing on an object and what you're projecting on it is your belief in a benevolent good entity or being, does it matter if the sun is it or if it's the guy behind the sun that made it? You're still focusing your love and your attention and your veneration to that concept, which empowers the God or the sun or whomever, right? Imagine that. Imagine our belief in love of humanity is what actually powers the sun to give us life. And if they altered that, then the sun would dim. Isn't that interesting? Interesting thought that we were actually the generators of the power of the sun through our love and our godly, connection to the benevolent creator. So it's like, it's up to you guys to keep the flame going in your hearts and your love and your empathy for others. Otherwise, you will extinguish yourselves. What a cool thing to think about, huh? Anyway, there's too much darkness in this world. And wow, think about all the symbolism and that goes along with that. Well, there's too much darkness in this world, guys, so we need to brighten ourselves up again by balancing scales and bringing back our old ancestral roots in religion, which is no different than what we already are used to. It's a benevolent creator of all things, and what's wrong with having the reference point be the sun? I think that's the smartest idea. Or would you rather it be the moon? The moon is the cult of decay and child sacrifice. So if you want to be in opposition to that, it only makes sense to be the sun. Ralda, which he worshipped as a chief source of life in this world, and many further details of the supposed miraculous efficacy of the cross in the hands of Adam George are now given in these Eddic lays. Now they're on a mission, right? To save Eve from this rapist asshole child killer and his child killing mom who bathed in blood and all kinds of crap. She's a horrific human being, if that's what she even is. Reptilian, I don't know. Striking well, but they are Chaldee Semites, if not Germanic people. Surrounded by Semites. It's hard to tell. Striking pictorial confirmation of the Eddic narrative of this crusade of King Adam is found on an archaic Babylonian seal dating probably to about the end of the 4th millennium BC. Wow. About the actual period of this crusade, it represents the priest king Adar or Adam, clad in Gothic dress, standing under the invincible red cross. This is your story. This is your story hijacked. It's Christianity. Christianity hijacked your story. Not because Christ or Jesus was a bad guy. It's because the people who co-opted it were. Okay? There's a distinction there to be made. I'm not putting down anything that you hold sacred. I'm just saying, understand its roots and understand he was one of our boys. But we're all capable. The kingdom of heaven was within. Greater things than I shall you do. And they even called him, he's the messenger. Well, yeah, literally, it was a scout. And came back not so good. So let's go finish the job that he helped pioneer. Or that we had already completed under Thor once or twice or 3 times in our Gothic history. Knocking this shit out of this moon cult, this child sacrificing clique of assholes. We've done more than once, but this was the first time. Clad in Gothic dress, standing under the invincible red cross, accompanied by the Sunhawk. Positive symbolism, not what they turned it into, right? And which is surveillance. We are the guardians. We watch over things. Therefore, we have the eye, the hawk eye, the eagle eye, that type of stuff. The eye, the all-seeing eye. That was protection. That was supposed to make you feel good. They flipped that on its head, like everything else. And now it's about surveillance and watching you. Like you can't get away with anything. The cult is always watching and they can get you wherever you are type of deal. And that's what they turned the world into. The sun talk and taking up his standard, the pedestaled cross out of its socket, attended by his upstanding he-goat, exactly as described in these lays, wherein Adam's warriors are styled he-goats. Goth, God, goat. I know people don't like to hear that, but Goth, G-O-T, is God. The Romans added the H to make Goth. They never called themselves Goths. Guti, Gauti, the shields, things of that nature. And he-goats, just like everybody else had a totem, the serpent cult who used snake venom to make poisons and drugs, they were the serpent cult. They had a snake as their totem animal. And those who followed their serpent cult were by and large Germanic, Armenian, and multiple other Chaldee Semites, and they were known for wearing a wolf tail into battle, and they were classified as the wolf totem, and they were like the masses, like the armies of this serpent cult. And we had the symbol of the goat, sometimes a ram, sometimes a deer. Do you think deer are evil and wicked, or do you think that a buck is powerful, but deer are pretty much, passive and benign as far as the doe goes? They can be tough. They can be rough. They're warriors. The herder of the... styled he-goats, and Cain is called the herder of the he-goats. He's the leader. The goat being, as I have shown in my former works, the special emblem of Adam, Thor, or Sig, as and oh my God, start over again. The herder of the he-goats, the goat being, as I have shown in my former works, the special emblem of Adam, Thor, or Sig, and his Goths, properly Goths, Gots. And what does that mean? They were considered gods by everybody that they encountered because they were so beneficial and good-natured to the people that they even, they ruled over. They were welcomed because they improved life. Everywhere that we go throughout history, the story is the same. Giant white people. And they deified them as gods. Gods. And a pictographic rebus, or however you pronounce that, for Goth or Goth. And at the same time, a nobler and more manly mascot than the deadly serpent and sanguinary wolf of the Edenites. So I'll read that all over again. Showing the special emblem of Adam, Thor, or Sig, properly Goths, as a pictographic Goth, and at the same time, nobler and more manly mascot than the deadly serpent and sanguinary wolf of the Edenites. All right, the Rowan, RWAN, as the true golden bow. Bow. UGH. The Roman apple symbolism of the red cross, that cross being made, as we have seen, of rowan tree wood, is especially prominent in these Eddic lays, although hitherto wholly unnoticed, and significantly the rowan apple is seen figured in several of the seals. The cross is herein variously called the sacred wood, the red rud, or rood. Now do you understand why these dark mockery, what did Thor bring in to battle? The sacred wood, a wood cross. So why do you think the story that they tell, and you're saying, no, this is what happened? Well, they told it allegedly 100 years after his death. So somebody made some shit up. Okay? Why do you think they would nail him to 2 pieces of fucking wood and call him a carpenter at the same time? Does any of this you're starting to understand how they're mocking you right in front of you? They're turning him into Prometheus. They're doing the same thing that they did with Prometheus in Greece with their hatred. This is how it shows that these are the same people behind those writings, or who controls the writings now. We don't know what they actually believed 500 AD, really. We can guess, but who's going to tell us the truth? But right now, as they're manipulating your minds, what do we think? Jesus was nailed on a cross, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, Prometheus was also injured in the side as he's getting his liver picked out every day or night or whatever, and it starts all over again the next day. What did they do to Jesus? They nailed him with a spear into the ribs, into his side. And why did they put him on a piece of wood? Because it's mockery. It's sick mockery, sick, twisted, dark humor. This is mind war. This is Michael Aquino mind war. You do it ahead of time. You tell it in a story, and you retell that story, and people pick up on it as if it's reality. And then they come to expect it to happen. what better time would you expect something to happen than if you were told that it's God's prophecy? The cross is herein variously called the sacred wood, the red rud or rood, the rowan wood, run or rainy, the rowan stick goad or spear, and the appled ash of the blazing wood. This does not imply that the actual rowan tree branch with its golden, scarlet-cheeked apple fruit, the true golden bow, and devil-banishing talisman of Odysseus, you know who I'm talking about. I don't know why this is. Odysseus. How do you say that? I can think it in my head just fine, but I can't say it out loud for some reason. My brain's retarded. Odysseus. There we go. Are you gonna claim the Odysseus in the sink? And not the mistletoe as hitherto been conjectured by all modern writers. It was the rowan apple tree with its golden fruit. Was itself always carried as a substitute for the cross. The opening verse makes it quite clear that the red cross carried on this occasion by Adam George was a wooden standard called the pedestaled rood of carpentered rowan wood in the form of a cross, and its wood was probably derived from Adam George's own great Yggdrasil tree or mountain ash rowan. Though in several of the seals it is figured as a rowan tree branch, this cross is now seen to be the remote historical original not only of St. George's cross and the true cross found in Christianity, the true cross, not the crucifix, the true cross found in Christianity, but also of the fiery cross carried by the Scottish clans in their holy wars. So if the most hated person in the world by these demon child killers is this Thor guy, and Thor takes in a symbol into battle that is also made out of wood that helps to nullify their or neutralize their snake venom poisons that they use on their arrows and spears and stuff like that. Then what better symbol to basically say, so then they develop a guy who's characteristic of the traits of Thor, and in their story and their telling, they get the guy. And what else? What better thing to nail him to than the symbol that he carried into battle? It's not signifying that they defeated him when they didn't. Do you see how they're doing this? Do you see how this is a spell? How this is a magic spell? It, at the same time, discloses the Adamite Gothic origin of the old Scottish adage on the devil banishing effects of the rowan tree. Rowan tree and red thread make the witches take their speed. That's why. And now you think of vampires and the cross and and it's like banishing them. This rowan tree neutralizes their power, their poison. And who knows, maybe there's another element to this that's even deeper that may repel them. Like they do with the garlic thing, right? The details of King Adam's expedition for the rescue of Eve is found in the Edda entitled Thor's Drubbing of the Edenites, which is here translated for the first time literally and in its real sense. I am not a Brit, so I'm going to look at something. What the hell does that mean? A beating or a thrashing is a drubbing. I kind of figured that, but I wanted to be sure. So Thor's ass whipping of these Edenites. Now it says Thor's thrashing of the Edenites. Now, doesn't that make more sense? Isn't it sinking a little better now, right? Which is here translated for the first time literally and in its real sense. The previous so-called translations or paraphrases, while it's missing entirely the meaning of the expedition and its leading details, are a tissue of grotesque mutilations and perversions of the meaning of the text. The numerous archaisms in the language and words of this text, and the rich variety in the titles and in spelling of the names of Adam, Cain, Eve, and Abel are of much historical and philology is the study of languages, right? Importance, especially as several of the names and words are ancient Sumerian. Another indication of how old this damn story is and its historical reality. Now, also, let's go back to that. Philology is what Ammon Hillman. This guy, who is crazy with this Jack not here. Yeah, I'm like, oh, let's find a crazy picture. Oh, never mind. They did it for us. There's your crazy picture of the dude who's quite literally possessed, satanic, whatever. Oh, there he is. Yeah, that guy. So Ammon Hillman is the actual philologist who decided to go and discredit the shit out of himself. At least he's got the right cross on his head, though. Good for him. And he can speak Greek, but he can't. He might not have the best translations out there, but he has some really brilliant ones. Okay. But I think he needs to go check out this stuff first before he goes on and on with his whatever. The Greek discloses a lot of strange things, like the quote unquote. Look again, though. Who's writing the story? The quote unquote disciples were way younger than we thought. The topographical details, too, are significant as preserving traditional ancient names and features in the route from Adam's capital at Vidara in the heart of Cappadocia down through the gorges to the sun-baked Eden or Karshemish on the Euphrates plain. King Adam George's crusade to Eden. In the opening stanza, the fiery red cross called the pedestal rood, when taken out of its socket on the red fell, is used as a divining rod to indicate the path taken by Abel down to Eden. Let me retweet that. Isn't that cool? The red cross, the pedestal rood. It's like a what do they call it? What do they call those things? Divining rod. Yeah, that's exactly what he says. Actually, used as a divining rod to indicate the path taken by Abel down to Eden, and is made to speak like the burning bush. I have prefixed a stirring verse embedded into another lay, Thryme's speech, which appears to relate to the same rescue expedition. So in this particular time, we're showing this. Is this indicating some sort of higher technology and the way that they described this higher technology? Maybe they made it out of this wood. Maybe there was some sort of device in it. Maybe the wood was how it pointed. Do you understand? Isn't that interesting? As divining rod, or you can also just believe in the ability for these things to be true, like that there is some sort of divinity in certain plants that would help you navigate. Maybe some white magic going on here, or maybe some technology going on here, along with the rowan wood of the apple tree, the rowan apples, which is very interesting, though. It would appear that Adam and Cain, in their eagerness, outstripped their men in a hurried rush to Eden. They left their guys behind because they were able to navigate. And have you ever run through a woods or a hike on a trail? I can picture this myself. There's streams, there's rocks in like shallow water that you skip across. And I used to do what the British call fell running, but it's trail running. And I used to do that to see how fast I could get up to the top of the mountain, and I would run back. You gotta watch out you don't cramp on the way back, though, because now you're using all your muscles backward to kind of like slow your pace as you're going down the mountain. So you're all the muscles that you made sore and possibly dehydrated going up, you're now working in the reverse, so they're contracting, which is a lot easier for you to get cramps. Like there's times when I have to grab my big toe, and then pull it back myself with my hands in order to get my calf to loosen up. But yeah, so I can imagine going faster than other people, because I used to wear a backpack with weight in it and still go faster than all my friends when I was doing the hikes. Then were the he goats out of the home for the rake, speeding with poles, swift and duteous ones ran. Rocks were riven by Odo, Thor. Earth burnt aflame, and Odo the End's sons drove down to Eden home. Flying was the pedestaled rood at the red fell, afore Adam the Goth. At the wedding of the dragon Lopt, remember Lopt is another name for Loki, against that lyre, lowered was its rope by Homedaler father. For the sake of keeping the pace, I'm not going to stop too many times on the pictures. This Rowan goad oracularly quotes the green goss here thrun, beaten track. Verily, there the true way for the steed of George the Red lies to Eden or Karshemish. The goad of strength, then Thor lets go down the trail of the lewd gams or vultures, where the fey serpents, tusks, and thrusting horns of sick netherfolk abide. That's very visual there. There wended George, geared with the disc, a shooting the wicked ganders richly. Remember, it's the magic of gander, the wicked ganders richly, ending never until he reached Imi's land, which would be Heidi, the witch. Ida's seat for Thridia, Thor's capital of Vidya. So Ida would also be Eve. George the Warden, in faring forth so far, swore to maim the noxious harmer, to scathe and bind with one swoop, saying the Galders, Chaldees, and rogues, the Chaldee Semites, I'll make Grimm's Gallum. Tie the betrayer, holler a grand stream of song. Remember Typhon, Loki. I'll open the evil gapes of the Endils with my spoon. And the gone vans in going, as in Vandals, as in there's also Huns. These are all not of Gothic Aryan type, even though they tried to make us believe that it's not. They're these Semite fucks. And the gone vans in going, those war wolves have torn from my heaven. Frida, her husband, that foremost of matrons, sorely come to dreary dregs. But I'll break the baleful quoter, the braggart Loki, the villain. My broidering wand will ply on the back of the son of the brothel brides, the sedge sows. Athwart his way, the weir bride had vanished. Its feet, the Swenish nuns, and its hilt had haggled and halted him. But he leaped the river over the gaping weir. Miok, Cain, the men's leader, never stayed leaping like their stick leader, because he's using the stick, right? Thus, the broad way of the Urd River was thrust past. Then the adders, snakes, eastern Theod River snorted in rage. This latter flooded icy river seems also to have been successfully crossed, and Adam on the southern bank muses on the miraculous efficacy of the cross. Are you getting ready? You know it's coming. The Moses reference to Thor is on its way. He's going to be splitting some waters here soon. They stole everything. I tell you, they stole everything from us. They didn't have any positive examples from their own history. They didn't have a history. They didn't have any accomplishments. They just brooded and murdered and conducted witchcraft and rape and sorcery and orgies. That's all these people did. They didn't have a written history of all of their accomplishments because there wasn't anything to speak of also. So when they are given and this is where the world went into the darkness. Ptolemy taught them how to read and write, and then the birth of yellow journalism and revisionist history occurred. It's not revisionist history to restore history. You're historical restorationist. It's revision when you tell a different story than what's true. These people are the revisionists, calling us revisionists for saying your Fraudicost didn't happen. There in the murky forest afore the marches, Burr Adam, hastily sitting, said, "Not the revolving wheel, stone mace here, has scotched the Adder River into suavity. That knotted, raging, hacking, freezing one, but the wood cross measured the wrestling splash, that it was which felled the running stream and fell Fedio and made its barrage stop. The lucky passage of the next flooded river is also ascribed to the cross, disclosing presumably the old Gothic original of the water passage miracle borrowed by the rabbis for Moses' passage of the Red Sea, and which also occurs in the ancient Indian Vedas, also predating the bullshit that they wrote in the Hellenistic period, when they also claimed that they were 1600 BC or whatever with Moses. Bullshit. It was originally written in Greek. Period. The end. Hard waxed the Nar River. And how do you know that? Because you can't translate back translate into more simple languages from the highly complex and millions and millions of words in the Greek. There's concepts that you can describe only if you are thinking in Greek and writing in Greek. To say that then was translated from a weak, pathetic, Hebraic, archaic language is stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. It may have gone the other direction from Greek to there with losing a whole lot of detail on its way, but it didn't go from simpleton to complex. It didn't happen that way. Hard waxed the Nar River, letting up to its shoulders with his heels on its bed in such flowing. In this gateway of mud, Thor, neatly an end of his nared girdle far flinging, athwart let it twirl to be seized by Thor's bairn, who was himself fairly... hold on. I want to see something. Sorry. A child? Okay, so he's talking about his son. Okay, cool. Now I know. Neatly at the end of his nared, gird faring flinging athwart, let it twirl to be seized by Thor's son, who was himself merrily and smart, though blotted up to the neck. Yet still the stream waxed more. Adam steadfast, but his friend afloat, swore by the Rowan the oath of the Goths. Seats for the voyagers may the sapient sword Rowan gain for us in the fens. Tardy the running waves, harden the earth. The Rowan quick the needed earth supplied. It quickly supplied the earth needed. A snow bridge it became by the appled ash of the blazing red wood. Is this... What do you think this is? Is it just a different way of describing an actual plausible device or occurrence, or is it fantasy and mythology? I think we need to look back on all of this stuff that we call mythology, because once you strip away the nonsense of like the animals and the anthropomorphic stuff, and you realize that this is just horrific mistranslations, it opens up for closer examination when things don't seem like they make sense. Like it does sound like they're talking about modern time warfare with planes and things like that, and things that seem like they would require electricity or some sort of energized device. We need to look back at that and say to ourselves, is this because these are artifacts of a civilization that had already been lost, and there's some artifacts left over that people used to restart civilization? Like, of course, if you saw something of great power, the thunderbolt, that makes me think of electricity. That makes me think of something that's energized, some sort of device, some sort of technology. You know what I mean? So the Rowan quick the needed earth supplied. A snow bridge it became by the appled ash of the blazing red wood. Unto its midst out he heaved himself by the apple rowan that was his shield, and clinging to the belt of heaven's king, came safely leaping out Cain. For it was Adam, and not the reckoning Cain, who strode the stream alone. Then never stopped they afore they stepped into the strife-laden vale of the grids, into the realm of the Edenites. No more deep flooded acres dripped across to the devilish weems of these weirs of gloom. Striding on, talking without standing still, the pedestaled wood-bearer rushing fell. Awestruck Thor fain the lot would see, but his son Cain on the firth hugging merry oaths, quotes, "The spill of the wood isn't to be feared. Thor and Thialf are the are strong as Thor. Thor and himself are strong as stone." Whoops. Then Thor, girded with his companion at his side, they let out, it's a father and son quest to save mom. How cool is this story? They let out their swords against the hateful ones, and then they go into battle and they start slicing and dicing these fucks. Shielded by the wood board, they warred against the horde hard, yelling their war din, like their battle cry. Afore the Hell Rider, the Red Rood, Heidi's heathens fled in fear from Odar the Divine, Thor. Now, how awesome is this when you realize that they're taking this to make the Jesus? Going backward, now you can say Jesus was a fucking warrior, right? Heidi's heathens fled in fear from Odar the Divine. The bright wood shield, Rowan cross, shot the squealing heathen wreckers. Know you yet the Edda? Know you yet at all? But remember, in their telling, they have to make him pussified and turn the cheeks and stuff like that, which is all still based in some reality of being fair and stuff like that, but also doesn't mean be a victim, which is what the pastoral practitioners these days want you to think is it means. Let God do his thing. It's meant to be. Let evil trample all over you and wait for this guy who's not coming back. Yeah, okay. When it's like we are all that guy, but we don't understand what it's supposed to look like, so we don't realize that it's in the mirror. Who is going to fix the problem or not fix the problem? It's in the mirror, and you can do it or not. Guinevere, Guinevere, or Eve, right here. Okay, moving on. Rescue of Eve by Adam and Cain from Epley or Abel in Eden, and punishment of Abel. The same Edda goes on to describe the rescue of Eve by Adam and Cain, husband and son, from the clutches of Abel, or Loki, right? Baldr, Baal, who is herein significantly called Epley, equating to the Hebrew EBL, which is the form in which Abel is spelt in Genesis. Also, Val, akin to his Sumerian title of Baal or Ebel, and the steer, a variant from his previous bull title, and thus identifying him with the steer god of Israel. Hey, everybody, look. The steer god of Israel is fucking Abel. It's Baal. It's Lucifer. It's Satan. Okay. Do we need to repeat that? Baal is the steer god of Israel of the Old Testament. He is also significantly called in the later stanza Egil, in keeping with his title of Igili or Igili in the scene in the famous ancient British carved casket of whalebone. That's cool. With runic, not so much that they killed the whale, but whalebone. British carved casket of whalebone with runic writing of about the 6th century AD. Here's from Ferry Hill near Durham. The Frank's casket. This represents him as Egil the Archer, referred to in the old British legend of Wayland the Smith. The Semitic Chaldee origin of this title seems disclosed by the Hebrew eagle, a bull calf, and the golden calf, idolatrously. Oh yeah, by the way, we're the idolaters, remember, not them. Idolatrously worshipped and also a Semitic title for a leader or prince. And the Edda repeatedly calls him a bull. Baal. Remember, Moloch isn't a thing. It's a type of sacrifice, and that type is burning your children. Usually included in that is the priest eating the flesh. Striking confirmation of the authenticity of this Eddic record is found in the ancient Hittite seal of probably about 2500 BC, in which the rescue of Eve by Adam is depicted in all its details precisely as preserved in this Edda. The Edda. Once again, proved by Hittite seals, 2500 BC. That's 2500 years before Jesus, and that's 2300 years, 2200 years before the Hellenistic writings of the Old Testament. It's also not the first time. As far back as 3380 BC, there's proof of this story existing. That's when it happened. It happened contemporary to that time, 3380 BC, 5,000 years ago. Adam Thor is portrayed girdled, stepping over mountains and entering the Eden abode with uplifted club or hammer in his right hand and grasping the fruited rowan cross in his left hand with his symbol of the 8-rayed sun in front of him. The imprisoned Eve is seen of white complexion holding up her skirts, and above her left hand is the cross of Adam with the crescent moon underneath to indicate that Eve was originally of the lunar cult. Remember, I told you this is a Saturn moon cult, the serpent wolf cult. Prostrate below her is Abel as the steer of Eden, the bull, Baal, with his wolf head and vulture symbols. And this is how they mix this all up too. They're like, oh, there's give a bunch of crows or falcons to Odin with the one eye. Like, all this stuff is fucking retarded. None of it exists. It's Woden, not Odin. Hopefully that's all dispelled now. Behind is the matriarch El of Eden, crowned with her hands uplifted in supplication, with her lion or wolf and coiled serpent symbols and 2 attendant weirds. Here again, therefore, the remarkable and literal historical authenticity of the Edda is established. The Edda sings, driving midst the drifting novice devils. So the divine Odar surged up. To salt he fared afloat, who fled to his door, where Evo, or Eve, was nested. Then the fire wrestler, the fast flooded... lower this a little bit so I can hear myself talk. The fast flood riving Danny, or Dardanos, stood. The knocker down of Helen's race stood afore that out-hustled a lout. So they're calling Elu Helen here. They were twain, the doughty cross-bearer, Thor and Rand's hugging bairn. Bairn, of course, again, son. That limmer warden of hell who came howling. Balked from going, that lustful father was fast held, and Eve was there inviolate. Snibbed was the lady against the gripper, and there rested the green-hatted queen. Ox, or Thor's hammer on Logi, hummed hail. It hummed on the filbert of Val. The truth ash wood trod down the Mooney. Remember, they're calling them Moonies. Remember, we brought this out last time we did one of these. Mooney, moon cult. From brow to soul, thwacking the hooded steer on the path. Were raged the hovering hitting twain, then laughing El Ida, hell's foremost hound, and the Kiel woman, quoth, Kiel is Kali, by the way. Same name. El Ida. If it's El Ida, it's all right. No. That's Elu. As in Elu Limnu of the Babylonian. Fetch away, and it's also Babylonian magic, but Elu Limnu means the most wickedly evil Lilith-like, vampiric demonic entities or entity. Fetch away, betide thy seas, Frady, from Abel's firth. Quoth the queen of the earth, why me she lay, not with the mob of harem women, and all is right I can. The elm tie ropes are loosened off of her. Abel, the angry thief, sliced the thongs. Now Oblivion, awful seething with the nether race in the south, should be gone. So Adam, for further shindy rapping, not minded to swill for further fight, he lifted the brooched one from the lion's too long friendship, and so thronged forth. Then is the thrasher of with the asa Esio. Eve. Is that what I said, Eve? Yeah. Out from Hrimi's floor of Dross, and away from the throes of the moody dark brides, the weirds of the gripper's breast. Know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Let's keep going. Scene 23, capture of the magic bowl or holy grail of the Garden of Eden by King Thor, Aryan Thor, or Arthur, also Aryan Thor, and its consecration by the latter to the cult of the sun and Red Cross. Disclosing this stone bowl still existing, bearing inscription of Thor's great-grandson, the Sumerian king Udug, 3360 BC, as the actual Holy Grail to King Arthur. This same Eddic lay goes on to record that Cain, significantly called Kinney, after the rescue of his mother Eve, overthrew the magic oracular stone bowl or witch's cauldron of El and Baldr of Eden, the jealously guarded pivot of the Eden or Hell cult, regarding which the matriarch El formerly taunted Adam at his former visit with the desire of carrying off, and which he now did in fact. Now carried off by Thor or Arthur as a trophy, it became on consecration by him the Holy Grail, the subsequent loss of which was a favorite theme in the Arthurian legend, and attempts were made by Christian bards to identify it with the bowl of the Last Supper, on the mistaken assumption that the great King Arthur lived after Christ. This stone bowl proves to have been the sacred oracular drinking and special stewing bowl or cauldron of foreknowledge. So there may have been something else going on in there besides sorcery too. Could also be some sort of technical thing. Who knows? Of the pre-Adamite matriarch weirds of the Garden of Eden from time immemorial down to El, the contemporary of Adam, and to have been regarded by the Edenites as their most precious possession and fetish of sorcery. So why is this so damn important? What is sorcery to them? Is it technology? Was there a lot of these artifacts laying around from a previous reset? Or maybe not even a reset. Maybe, here's another thing to consider. You know how right now we have Aboriginal people with spears? Does that mean that the whole of the world is just Aboriginals with spears? So who's to say this area is at this level of civilization and there's other places, maybe outside the freaking ice wall, that were more advanced? Yeah, even at this time. I think it's more reset oriented as far as things left intact after something happened, and then people grabbing a hold of these things and then being able to wield might and power over others because of the things that they had in their possession. After its appropriation and consecration, the magic oracular stone bowl of Eden, guarded by dragons, depicted here. See, there's the cauldron, there's the dragons. The dragons, of course, probably being referenced back to the serpent cult. After its appropriation and consecration, by Adam Thor by drinking out of it sacramentally at each harvest tide, the greatest festival of the Goths, with the exception of Yuletide, later called Christmas by Christian priests. Oh, but it's not pagan at all. They'll steal from us and then call us the pagans. Of course. It became the holy grail of the Gothic knights, but disappeared later for the reason, as now disclosed, that it was deeply buried by Thor's great-grandson beneath the foundation of the central tower of the oldest sun temple in Mesopotamia, which he built, and whence it was unearthed by about 30 years ago, which means about 1900, because this was 1929 that came out. Unearthed about 30 years ago, and its inscribed fragments are now in my possession. Significantly, it is also frequently referred to by the later Sumerian, Babylonians, and Hittites, and lamented over as the lost magic stone bowl. What makes it magic, though? Is it tech? Is it curse? Is it wizardry? Is it actual magic that, some sort of energy is left around, what do you call it? They call those items, but they call them familiar items or whatever, that had been captured by Dur or Thor, which are also titles, of Thor and the Edda. Overthrow and cracking of the magic bowl of Eden by Cain. The overthrow, cracking, and ejection of this Eden bowl are described in the 3 concluding verses of the above lay, and are strikingly confirmed by the archaic Sumerian seal and Sumerian psalms. Sumerian, 5,000 years ago. Then the holy beef dish, or bowl, of the hall, the head of the hawks, Cain. So the head of the hawks is Cain, because he's also a falconer. We talked about that before. Comes to broiler. Under in the flat it was broiling. Forest the feet of the Thrasi witches. This tidbit of gold Cain loosened in the teeth of the 3-tide witches. The 3-tide witches are the 3 fates. Those nether maimers amid their mess. And he drilled out the beaker afore their nose. Gloomy aneath in their armed gear, grumbling with drenched skins over the vanished sailor song of victory, they lauded on the hearth beaten at the coming of the 2, Vidar and Mit the Divine, so Thor and Cain. The ale can they saw harmed. The ale can, I guess they're calling it an ale can. The ale can they saw harmed, let out on path the metal-brimmed beaker, fallen and Eden wrecked. The hell-blood sacrifice woefully nipped, hacked and broken in its shaws, under the fell attack of the young Alpha of the Alpha of the Homes. Talking about, what do you call it? Cain. That bright blinking calf. No more folk feast from that lost crafty cheerer. The meat-wishing bull of the matron. The old mind can is down. The fiery stone of El, the trickster. They keep on calling it meat bowl. I'm wondering if she's eating her human flesh out of that. Story of magic stone bowl of Eden. Carrying off the magic bowl of Eden. I said that's all right. I'm going to say sorry. The carrying off of the cracked magic bowl of Eden by Adam Thor is described in a later Eddic lay, variously called Thor's trammeling of the Midgard worm or serpent, and Jaime's quoting, the bard who thus modernized the old text of this tradition does not appear to have known that the overturning and cracking of the bowl with its capture and removal occurred at the rescue of Eve. He makes Thor and Cain undertake a special visit for its capture, but does not explain how Eve came to be present at the time in Eden. So at the same time they're taking Eve back is when he steals the fetish bowl, is what he's basically confirming, or he's establishing here. He introduces several verses of his own, omitted here. So interesting, right? The rescue of a queen and the stealing of what they call the Grail, but in reality, it's a magic witch's cauldron of unspeakable wickedness. For all we know what she might have been doing with it, and what she might have been eating or drinking out of it, and not to mention the fact that she was also drinking snake venom and getting high with a little help from herself. He introduces several verses of his own, omitted here, making the trio stay overnight in Eden. He admitted them because they're nonsense. Though the older lay states that they left for home at once. What is one of his commandments? Don't lay when you can move on. They wouldn't have done that. That doesn't make any fucking sense. That's one of Thor's commandments. You don't sleep near these fuckers. That's what Eve said to Cain in the 10 Commandments of Thor. Stay the hell away from these wolf tribe people, these sorcerers. You don't stay overnight. He also adopts the later notion of Snorri that Jaime, that is El, was a male Eoten or Edenite. Again, retardation. This lay prefaces its account for the capture of this famous bull or ewer by a narrative of a previous visit of Baldr to the banqueting hall of the Goths, in which he boasted of the unique and surpassing magical virtues of this bull. And significantly, it is rich in the Sumerian titles of Thor and his son. Thus, Thor also is called Bur, Ad, and Roa, in series with his Indian Vedic title of Pururavas, wherein Ravas means of the sun. Ravi in Sanskrit and Ra in Egyptian both derived from the Sumerian Ra, the sun. See his Sumer. What did he say? See my Sumer Aryan dictionary, and his son is called Amo Aegis Moeg and Kinney. In days of yore, Valtiva came spying, and in the assembly, slowly afore saying a word, he shook his divining twigs to see the lots, to find there at Aegis Hall ordeal cheer in the ewer. There sat the hill dweller Cain, the tidy bairn, the tidy son, in front, Miok, much blind to such like. Same thing as Cain, just changing the name. Who, looking in the eyes of Ig's son, or Cain, in thrawn mood, quote, thou oft hast assembly for the asses geared. That fate-working Edenite, the word-badgering-tailed wolf, hugging the notion, or embracing the notion of being a heaven-dome next to the gods, he bids Sif's husband himself fetch the ewer, saying, then I'll tell ye all over your ale of a heater toddy bowl. None can match that of Maid Mary or El. Maid Mary, listen to this, Maid Mary is the devil bitch in this story. They call her Maid Mary. Do you see the potential dark mockery going on here again? Possible. None can match that of Maid Mary and Tiva, which is Typhon, which is Baldr, which is Lucifer. Get it? El, his wife, his mom wife, and himself. And the great kings can get such nowhere. 'Tis the one of all truce cups of Typhon to Lorita. Easter's foresight is most in that sage one. Afore the byre it stands, east of Eli of the waves, at the hound wise which Jaime, which is again El, at the end of heaven, at my mother's moody kettle, that roomy brewing ear is the deep of rest. Feast ye will if ye get the lucky. Feast ye will get if ye get what the fuck. Feast ye will if ye get that lucky well. Feast ye will if ye get that lucky well. If thy wily friend, will let it with its gear. Sorry, this is a little hard to read for me for some reason. So now they, Thor and Cain, had driven forth thither for days, from Asgard until they came to Eagles or Els, the herdsman and the he-goat of the horned goshawk, and hurried into the hall in Jaime's hut. This is, again, their conquest to go get Eve, right? Meg the Somoy Amo Miok led in himself. So they're just saying Michael, or Cain. Hefty headed as 900 men. Then another Eve jogged forth, all golden haired, white browed, the bearer of the beer wassail herself. Eve quotes, "That kinswoman of the nether Edenites, well, glad am I to see ye, full of hugs for ye, twa sit under the ewer, which my friend Abel marks himself. Glad ye with guests, for George he hugs ill will." Still wet was that tyrant, warder of that seed spell abode. The hard tyrant of Hyme, home from the hunt, jogging into his cellar, gloomy and icy, was the churl when it came the shaggy kin of Frey of the inn. And then it says, Eve, outside to Baldr, were thee keep hail, Hyme. Inside are the hugging goths. Now is my son come into thy cellar, he whom I've waited for my long way, and following him, the father, Odor or Thor, and the Skoti, the friend of man, who Ver is height is named. Who Ver is named Voer. Beware, I say Ver because whatever. Beware where they sit under the cellar gable, so forth save thyself, stand afore the pillar. But sundered was the stock of the pillar afore the sight of the Edenites, was already in twain, broken by the lords, Asas, and the stock of 8 ewers, only one of them hard sledged remained whole. Forth came they, the Asas or lords, but the old Edenite with loathing eyes, and Skoti, another name for Thor, said to herself, mind well when thou seest him that makes witches weep come in on thy floor. He makes witches weep, everybody. Sounds like a cool dude already. There also is Theora, Tor, or Cain, and taker of the 3 witches. And the taker of the 3 witches. Remember the 3 fates? The Hecate is kind of like the inner circle of El. Her wicked witches, basically. Both of them going after the Eden Seether. Where don't they lift their heads shameless, and at fireside sitting bravely. And then that Edenite, unfriendly as ever, in throes of spite and taunting Thor, quote she, ramming strong men though ye be, Roa and Kinney, even with thy crafty might, ye'll never break my chalice. Then Hlo the Rider, or Lo the Rider, also known as L-O, without the H, Cain, came at it with his hands to let break and burst the brothstone Galari, which I believe is glass, but it's not. It may not be. Sitting agog, he slogged it on the pillar, but it was borne back whole from Hyme's skirts, until Frida, knowing that harlot Easter's foreknowl, until Frida, knowing that harlot Easter's foreknowledge, I stop at the end of the thing and realizing that it's not a pause. So it's like, until Frida, knowing that harlot Easter's foreknowledge, the milkle wisdom of the adder, of the snake, quote, dash it on the head of Hyme, which is El, crack her in the head with their own bull. That is harder than every choice meat chalice of Eden. So the chalice is harder than any of the other ones. Then the hardy he-goat guardsman, rising from the knees, brought the dish with all his Asa might down upon the helmet head of the churlish hell enchantress. Then the round wine carrier was riven in cracks. Mary quoth, this is Mary meaning El, meaning Heidi, meaning the demon bitch, quoth, I see my meat treasure, M-E-E-T, like meetings, meat treasure gone from me. I see my chalice in knocking ruin. Quoth she, that churl, nevermore can I say to that one, after this in my life, ale art thou heated? That one thing so choice, I doubt if I can mend. Out through mine own fury goes the ale keel of my house. Ty or Baldr or Loki, looking on. Ty, swearing at the ruin, stood beside the other. The ewer rested calm in front. Then Father Moda, Thor, fetched it from the snakes, and in going strides over the floor, over that nether cellar, Sif's husband heaved up upon his head the ewer as a holy trophy in ringing his skull. No. What's that mean? He put the helmet, he put it on his head like a helmet. Now let's see. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. All right. Now they say this is Baal, but I'm starting to wonder. Because that looks like a pot on top of somebody's head, doesn't it? I'm sure they weren't all doing that. I'm sure, I think he did that to carry it off. Doesn't that look like a pot on somebody's head? Potentially. So they're saying this is Baal, but look at that. That looks like a lightning bolt type of stance or a spear in your hand that would have been there eventually. They made him look a little too skinny for what I would believe he would be. They kind of changed the ethnicity of his face an awful lot and gave him big ass ears. But all in all, it looks like it's a depiction of this scene, potentially. Like this. They're saying that this is Baal, and I'm starting to wonder if this is true or not. And if it is, then they've mixed the stories, of course. And remember when you see the potheads. These are the original potheads. Not that type of pothead, you fucking moron. The headdress. Some of them look like, not the one. They literally look like they have a pot on their head. The Egyptian things. Not that. Not that. If we come across it, we'll show you. But there is hieroglyphics. How do you fucking spell it? Is H-I-E? There you go. No, they're not giving me shit right now. That may be, but not really. Well, you'll see. There's this thing that looks like a, sometimes maybe. Let's see what this one looks like. Not so much. I mean, it kind of looks like he's wearing something on his head, but I don't think that's what the pot is. There are hieroglyphics that look like there's, and you'll see it even in the Pope's hat. Like that, it's a thing. It's a thing. Anyway. Ty looking, yeah, I already saw that. The father would have fetched it from his snakes, going on, blah, blah, blah. Steve's husband heaved it upon his head, the ewer, as a holy trophy and ringing his skull. He put it on his head. Pursuit of Adam, Eve, and Cain by Edenites under Abel. So here's the stupid thing. They go in, I don't know if it's paralysis by fear or they're being cautious, but Abel or Baldr doesn't do anything when they come barging in to rescue Eve, whom he's already raped. And then they have their way with, meaning they rough up the witches that are around El, and they take her most prized possession, they crack her over the head with it. All the while, Abel's just standing there. But how is it that Thor doesn't just up and kill the motherfucker right then and there? So this is what happens because he didn't do that. The guy who just raped his wife. Pursuit of Adam, Eve, and Cain by Edenites under Abel. Why is Abel still around if he was in that room with them, in that little cave dwelling place? 4 words, or they call hell. 4 words ear long on looking back. Remember that it's in a subterranean like tunnel / cave thing that this little area is of Heidi's, the sorceress, and she does some wicked shit in there. And it's under the ground, hence in Eden's called hell. You see where this is all kind of finding its basis from? Yeah, hell's under the earth. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Pursuit of Adam, Eve, and Cain. So with Thor's ear long on looking back, one time Odvin's son saw, outrushing with Jaime from the east, folk hordes faring forth fell-headed. The standard bearer of his shoulders stood the ewer. So he's still wearing it on his head. Bearer off his shoulders stood the... Waved he the mallet, the murder yearner afar, and the ruining wails he dropped. Wounding of Cain by Abel. Forwards again. Ere long lay down the he-goat, lo the rider, half dead of four, that shackler Cain was scarred and sheared to the bone, and that by all and that by the all-lewd wise Loki. So it was Loki who did it, basically. He was scarred and sheared to the bone, and that by the all-lewd wise Loki, Abel. It looks like he's wearing a potter and really nice hat, huh? Carrying off the Eden magic bowl on the head of his head. Well, if that's what the bowl looked like and it's on his head, gee, that kind of actually looks like what Top Hat was maybe designed after. A pot on top of that goddamn head? Really? Jeez. So many things, so many things, so many things. Wow. That's weird. All right, so consecration of the Eden Bowl by King Arthur as the Holy Grail. Now, have you heard how the ewer can is the bowl, the cauldron, was worn like that, as the Goth artist carved with such skill, that ewer of the Earth Ruiner is what they call her. She's the Earth Ruiner. Baldr, Woden, and El are the Earth Ruiners versus the Reign of Reason, us. That ewer of the Earth Ruiner he fetched as a loan. Thus, both he, the Chaldee Eve, and the son forged forth to their own. So they left together. The doughty Abel, or Thor, came to the thing of the Goths, wearing thus on his head the family bowl of Jaime, the wizard, the witches. I mean, the sorceress. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Then George, or Vor, shall drink well from that ewer, ale of the deer at Aegis' hall. So then Thor shall drink ale of the deer at Cain's hall each harvest tide. Know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? The last two verses in disclosing the origin of the Holy Grail of King Arthur or Arthur also disclose the origin of the ceremonial pot hat, surviving down into modern times, and the explanation of the pot crown worn by kings in ancient Sumerian seals and on Egyptian sculptures, the so-called crown of the north in Egypt, in imitation of King Adam in carrying off the magic bowl of Eden, having worn it on his head as a hat. The crown of the north. All right, so let's see. Let's look and see if we can find it under the crown of the north. There you go. Crown of the North, it's called in Egyptian art. Images, bam. Now it looks like a pot on a head. Now it looks like a pot on a head. Now it kind of looks like a pot on a head. Now it kind of looks like a pot on a head. I don't know why that would be a thing. That doesn't really look like a pot on a head. But do you see how this looks like the one of the hats that popes wear? I'm not sure what the little twisty-wisty little thing is in there. That's what that's all about, but you got a couple more pot heads. That's like bowling pins on their head, for Christ's sake. It's a bowling pin. But okay, so I guess if you look at it like this, then maybe the pot's sitting straight down on the head, not flipped upside down. The white crown, the red crown, the double crown. Interesting. Except none of them are black. So get that out of your head. All right. Anyway. Hey, look at that. Isn't that nice? Sun crosses. Isn't that nice? There's a plate. There's pieces of the thing from the bowl. The consecrated stone bowl of Eden as the Holy Grail of King Arthur. The Battle of Eden between Adam Thor and his Goths against the Edenites under Baldr. So they didn't really give too much detail of what happened as they're leaving, and Abel gets wounded to his scalp, to his skull. Now I know in previous talks, the mother's there and she nursed him back to health, but why didn't they talk about anything there when they were on their way out? Are they going back to it? The matriarch El and her son Abel of the Garden of Eden, now as detailed in the Edda, feverishly mustered all their swarms and allied hordes. First of all, neither one of them should have been left alive after stealing off and raping his wife. They should have been turned into hamburger. But whatever. The Garden of Eden now, as detailed in the Edda, feverishly mustered all of their swarms and allied hordes from the Karshemish and Van provinces, from lower Mesopotamia, and by sea from the seaboard of Syria, and the south from Lycia. Lydia actually comes up in the Orlinda book as being like Lydia's children are not good, right? And other parts of Asia Minor for an overwhelming attack upon King Adam and his Goths. So they're calling in all their allies, all their wolf tribe associates for one epic battle to finally rid themselves of the reason, the reign of reason, the reason givers, the people who guard and protect mankind from evil. They want to get rid of the protectors. This great epoch-making battle was the actual flood, was the greatest of all battles in the world, as judged by its far-reaching. This great epoch-making battle was the greatest of all battles in the world, as judged by its far-reaching effects. For it led to the political supremacy of Adam's higher civilization and its free propagation over the world, to its immediate extension to Karshemish. After they conquered it, now it's theirs, or Eden, and thence down Mesopotamia to the Persian Gulf within a very short period, and laterally to India, Egypt, and Europe. It occurred, according to my newly found historical data, about 3350 BC. It was presumably a year or more after the rescue of Eve, as Cain is now completely recovered from the wound inflicted by Abel, and the collection of the distant hordes of the Edenites must have taken a considerable time. Right? They didn't have they didn't get to get on Telegram or chat that way in order to get everybody together. It resulted in Adam's victory of the traditional harrying of hell of the Welsh. The Central Edda preserves a stirring traditional picture of the mustering of all the various hordes of the wolf serpent tribes to attack Adam and his Aryan Goths. This is the epic battle. This is what's talked about in the Mahabharata and the Vedas. These hordes hastened by land, sea, and river, and we have seen that El and her Chaldees, the primitive Celts, or children of the river, who frequented mostly the riverbanks and seashores. Yeah, in this true history, you find out that, Scottish people, the Scoties, were A-OK. The Catties, Hittites, Scoti. The Celts, not so much. They were like the sorcerous freaking shitbirds of this cult. Yeah, kind of disappointing, I guess. Whatever they say about redheads, they are devils, so at least the females. Anyhow, moving on. The names of these pre-Adamite wolf tribes are significant. The very first mention is Hrim, which makes me think of Hiram, and maybe that was also a Hiram Abiff type of thing. I don't know. The very first is mentioned Hrim, which suggests the original of the Germanic tribe of Herminones, according to Tacitus, or recorded by Tacitus, to the east of the Rhine, who were called by him Celtae. And and who says that historian claimed descent from Herman, a grandson of the earth-born god Tusio or Baldr, who was Tusio Woden, who was evidently identical with Woden's son. Yeah, okay, Ty. Yeah, Addis or Baldr. I was right. These were reinforced by Munu tribe of the fire spitting, Muspel. I wonder how they call them fire spitting. Were they shooting arrows of fire? There's another type of weapon here that we're not aware of. Who were presumably the ancestors of the Manus tribe of Germans, who Tacticus says claimed descent from the son of Tusio as well. Prim, as we have seen is an Eddic variant of Yerman, cognate presumably of Garm or wolf. And with the Indian Vedic title for El as Sarama, as the bitch of the Pani. Isn't that nice? The bitch of the Pani. Or Vans, the Ceramus, Amazonian queen of, Ceramus. Oh my God, really? So I'm trying to think. Hold on. It's in my head. I'll think of it in a second. Or Vans, the Ceramus, Amazonian queen of Van of the Greeks. And it is apparently the source of the tribal title of Sarmatian. It's not Samaritan, but it's close. For the Eastern Vandal Turanian hordes, which ravaged the early Western world. The general description of these tribes in the Edda as bear-sarks, meaning they're wearing animal skins, indicates their culture, which is not the same as the Goths, because the Goths wore threaded garments. It is also interesting to find amongst the other wolf tribes, which are specified, the Leg and Lidi as coming by sea. This clearly discloses the latter to be non-Aryan Lydians, and the former to be the Luki or Lyki of the Greeks, and the Lycians, what do they talk about? What's a Lycian? It's a wolf of the Romans on the Mediterranean coast west of Cilicia, a name now seen to be derived from Loki's wolf tribe, preserved in the Greek as Lukos, a wolf. And the later Lycians, especially worshipped by the mother goddess with her wolfish cult and her Nereid water nymphs, wherein Ner is from the Greek Neros, wet, from Samaria Nir or Ner, which much water, the source of the Aryan Sanskrit Nara, which is water, and we have seen that Nar is the. That's interesting. It's a horse, snake, serpent, sea creature. Interesting. On a wolf-headed sea horse. We're back here. I gotta read this. Nar is the Eddic name for the Euphrates at Eden or Karshemish, where the Aborigines are called the Nar men. And Naru was a usual Babylonian name for the Euphrates and other great rivers. The flying dragon Hel or Ate or Hate or Yormun, as El Loki's mother, is especially called in this form, who along with her son Loki and his host of evil accomplices that darken the sky, discloses apparently the Aryan Gothic source of St. John's tradition in his revelations of the fight of Michael the Archangel and the hosts of heaven, which would be the hosts of heaven. Where they come from? Himen. Where's Himen? Top of a mountain in Cappadocia. The hosts of heaven against Lucifer or Satan. So the Goths against Satan or Loki, who is in several minor Eddic lays, as well as the Sumerian and Hittite seals given wings. The matriarch El as the flying dragon in Egyptian mythology. And there she's wearing a pot on her head too. Looks like. Indeed, the whole atmosphere of the wolf tribe. Indeed, the whole atmosphere of the wolf tribe offensive in the Battle of Eden, as described in the Edda, with its anticipation of bombing aeroplanes. Guys, pay attention to this because this might not just be conjecture. It might not be mythology. This stuff has come to pass. So how do we not think that maybe there was some other technology still around from a previous reset? With anticipation of bombing aeroplanes, its red-hot missiles projected, the incendiary flaming switches or cherubim swords, the belching forth of fire and poison and clouds of smoke which darkened the heavens and obscured the stars, vividly suggests the hellish methods of destruction in modern warfare. Even he says it. Mustering of the Edenites under Abel. The mustering of the Edenite hordes. Remember, this is 5,000 years ago. The mustering of the Edenite hordes to attack Adam and his Goths is thus graphically described in the Sibyl's Lay. The Hrim tribe from the east, comes from the east. Heaving their linden spears are first. The Yerman gander, remember the gander thing, remember the wolf gander is what they're saying here, sniffs in Eden madly. The magic of gander. This is literally like Yerman is the wolf gander. Sniffs in Eden madly. Orm knocks the waves, and old Harry screams where slitting the nether Nidfol men launch the nail ship. Kiol ferries from the east, whence come the Munu of Muspel. Over the sea, the Leg, and the Lidi fair. Lidi, I'm telling you, Lydians, this is going right back to the different tribes. There was the Frisians from Freya and the Freya's sons and daughters. And then you'd have the Lydians, and then there was the other group I can't remember at the moment. But when we get into the Oralinda book, I guarantee you they're talking about these people. Guarantee you they're talking about. And remember, the Frisians are who were loyal to Freya, and come to find out Freya's friend is Eve. Friends of Eve were the pure ones who did not have anything to do with magic. They kept away from it, right? And they had a matriarchal society as well with the what do you call it, the Bergsmaiden and stuff like that. We'll get into that, but just remember that when we get into it, so we can reference back to this. The Lydians were not the good ones. And they come out to fight. I think the Lydians might also have been of dark hair. So not quite the same type. When they said there's 3 types of people in the world, and they were like this, and that. And Loki also steers Fairforth the great fiefs. Is that fiefs? People? What is that? I don't know. With all their freekas or wolves, with them are their brothers, the Baalists, on board. And so, freekas being wolves or the group tribe, whatever, you know what I mean? Swart fares the sun mid switches of fire. So they'll be referring to themselves as their totem often without it actually meaning wolves. They're the wolf tribe, the wolf cult, wolf clan of people who identify as the wolves. Swart fares the sun mid switches of fire. Shining of the swords is the son of Val Tiva. The great bergs clash, the Geef vultures trail, wolf tails tread hellways when heaven's clefts open. Now think about this. Much like today, if we ever, and we are going to engage in this battle, you know damn well, I mean, the level of technology is ridiculous, but they're of course going to bring in all the other territories that they've also conquered to engage as well. And those people in those territories. And just like every other time in history, now every person in every territory is going to be of the same philosophy and loyalty. So even if there were Germanic tribes in there, doesn't mean that all Germanic people were, a part of this cult of child sacrifice or friendly to it and supportive of it. That doesn't mean that at all. Same thing with, if something erupted in Sweden, the Swedish people are not their government. Same thing with Scandinavians or anywhere else. The Germanic people even now are not the same as their government. You understand what I mean? Like, just because people coming from these territories to fight this battle, well, it's their people that they have control over. It's not all the people. It's not a collective movement of everybody in that geographic location. It's the bad element in that geographic location coming for the fight. But just as it would happen, hopefully in this time and age, before they even got a chance to go off to fight this war, the natives who were not pieces of crap would see that as their time to overthrow, push back, take out that demonic force, because everybody's going to uprise at the same time and push back on this evil and corner them. You need everybody to do it. You need every country, every territory to rise up, the good people to go against this wicked, evil cult that has just told everybody who it is, because something's going to go down and it's going to be very detrimental to us. And at that point, it won't matter what we know, because we won't be able to do anything about it. So now is the time. The great bergs clash, the geef vultures trail, wolf tails tread hellways when heaven's clefts open. Adam Thor calls the gods to arms. What are the Asas doing? What do the elves? All Eden home growls. The Asas are in Thing Council. The dwarfs groan afore their stone doors, or wisely seek the rock ways in flight. So remember how when they first got there, everybody was hiding from this cult, this wicked, evil cult, because it was terrorizing them, stealing their children, stealing them, killing them for no good reason, no provocation, stealing their food, making life hell, terrorism. Well, now they're saying the dwarfs groan afore their stone doors, or they wisely seek the rockways in flight. They're hiding again, because shit's about to go down. Know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? Mimi's Nimi Cain's sons are astir. When Miok or Michael Woodcross is kindled, remember, again, same thing, just same person, just they're one line to the next, they're doing variations. So Cain is Miok. At the yelling of the calling horn, high blown over the homedale, the lofty horn in air, ode of the inn, Thor consults with his son, Mimi's wise head. Nice. See, that's cool. They got a good bond going here. It's nice to see. Shakes then Yggdrasil tree, the ash tree upstanding. That old tree hums when the Edenites break loose. Somebody said that Yggdrasil was Israel. Like, no, it's not. Just because it sounds like the same when you push it together. No, what the fuck does that mean? Ygg is Thor. The Drasil is the tree, the Rowan tree. Just because you push it together and say Yggdrasil, don't give credit to this stupid nonsense about Israel. Shakes then Yggdrasil tree, the ash tree upstanding. That old tree hums when the Edenites break loose, when the dread wolf tails rush on the roads of hell, led thence by Surtar, the slayer and gulper. The battle of Eden and Adam's victory. There now comes the Helen, another harm far greater than ode of the inn's fairs. Oh, the ode of the inn fairs, with the wood cross on the wolf's way, when the banisher of Belial, the bright one, attacks Surtur. Surtur is another name for Loki, Abel. Then may fall Frigg's beloved tie. Frigg, of course, again, is El, and that's her beloved son, the demonic piece of shit Baldr. Then comes in the dim, dragon a-flying. What do they mean? The adder from beneath the nether fells, with the bear sarks feathered. Flying to their vol Sybil from afar, the nether ogres of the Nar, now may she be sunk. Okay, what are we hearing about the dragon a-flying here? Is there something else going on here we need to know? Could it just mean moving fast? What are we talking about here? The sun turns swarthy. Fields sink into the sea. Averted into the heavens are the stars overhead. Gushes forth fiery smoke from the old urnars, licking high the heights unto heaven itself. Know ye yet the Edda? Know ye yet at all? You know what I keep popping in my head is, I know this is a little bit after the fact. This comes later, but Mohenjo-daro, the city of the dead, which obviously wasn't called that because you don't call something after something that you don't call something the result of something after the fact. So obviously, the people there never called their city the city of the dead because they were there. They weren't dead. When you find a bunch of people just laying around everywhere, and it looks like some kind of nuclear blast killed everybody like that, and there's like shit turned into glass and stuff like that. It's like what kind of weaponry was this? Well, that was our Aryan, another Aryan territory of ours was Mohenjo-daro, and there was Phrygians that we fought there. So these stories actually overlap. It might be different time periods, but this battle is actually recorded in the Vedas and the Mahabharata. And the different ways they describe it makes it sound even more like modern warfare, or maybe even futuristic warfare. That doesn't mean it's... How can it be mythology, though? Just because it's an archaic way of describing the event makes it like... You say, oh, Firebird, but it's a jet. Like, does that mean that you have to depict a bird on fire in the sky, or could it technically just be the rocket, the trail and the fire afterburners in there, and you see the, you know what I mean? Just because they're expressing it in an archaic form for others to understand doesn't necessarily mean that it was impossible for those things to be in play, that those things didn't that they were there. I don't know how real or true those hieroglyphics are in Egypt, where it looks like they show like a Black Hawk helicopter and all kinds of other shit inside the hieroglyph. I could be total bullshit. Who knows? But just, pointing at that a little bit. Slaying of Abel or Baldr by Prince Gun Miok. Does anybody know what I'm not talking about? No, I'm talking about. So this is 2025. Let me go ahead and show you. Get it. Yeah, okay. I don't really need that. Let's just go to... I don't know how else to put it. Okay, so I don't know how real this is, but one of these things looks like a... I didn't make it any bigger. Hold on. No, that's too small. All right. This thing looks like the cruiser that they showed in like Star Wars 1, where these aren't the droids you're looking for. That kind of looks like that thing right there, like a freaking hovercraft. This looks like a helicopter. I don't know what else you would call that. I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a mangrove, or is that what they call it? Yeah, I think so. Mandrake. I don't know what is this, a plant or whatever the hell it is. Maybe it's an axolotl. That's a very big bug, obviously, but I don't know if any of this stuff is real, or if they just fake this to make it look, make us ask questions. But that definitely looks like some sort of saucer type vehicle there, and this looks like one of those hovercraft type things with a flat bottom. It could be nothing. It could be total, you're retarded, Daniel, and so is everybody else who bought into this. But I don't know what it means. I don't know. Ancient 3,000-year-old Egyptian hieroglyphics that look like, and then Seti the first and Ramses the second. So now every time you see those snakes and the serpents and stuff like that in Egypt, you know who actually took over their culture. It's the serpent wolf cult. It's the priests that were influencing the leaders. Priestcraft Beyond Babylon. Highly recommend you buy 10 copies each, in case you want to read it more than once. Okay, slaying of Abel or Baldr by Prince Gun, Miok, Mickley, Saint Michael, or Cain. Oh, you know what? Before we get this started again, let me just go back around the room. Hi, Jim Giraffe. Hello, Jim Giraffe. Did we ever pop up? Oh, wow. Man, what the hell's going on? Is Thursday a busy day for mofos or what? We got lots of peeps in here. Let's see. We got Waffen says, hail, my friend. What's up, Waffen SS? If anybody has pull over on crusaders.gg, ask him what the F. Why am I not allowed to log in? Do I have to do this all over again? I just want to play around on that site and just have another place to stream. I'm not really interested in, conversing with many. Just want my presence felt. Let's see. We got anything going on over here? It's going to be a little bit less because of, YouTube being a turd ass and stuff like that. But it looks like we do have one person watching on YouTube. And let's see. Let's go over to Kick. Make sure there's nothing over there. People watching. 2. Oh my God, that's double as yesterday. Oh wow, yeah. Hey, I checked. Here's a bullshit thing and get $1,000. Shut up. Give me a crap. Everybody who's over here follow though. Good. We're back up. We're up to 24 now. Look at that. All right. All right. I like that. I like that. All right, and then let's go to party. In your pants, and you're invited. And how's it going? I don't even think you can tell if there's anybody watching your show on this. Nope. You can't tell if there's anybody watching. Way to go, party. Way to think it through, dipshits. So if anybody wants to be... Hey, Bushmaster, what's up? If anybody wants to be so kind as to get us to our goal, our stream goal, and our other metered goal, I would love to take that meter off the thing and just do our regular goal thing. You can do it on FTJ Media, or you can jump on over to this little section here that says Patreon. Highly recommend everybody become a Patreon member at the 5, at the very least, because that's where you're going to get 90% of the information. Oh, force reset triggers. Sorry, I got excited. I got to get an FRT, the Arizona FRT. I got to buy one. The patreon.com Christos Cast is where you want to be, right? Because this is where most of the stuff is going to be going on after. Buy me a coffee, you can do. Let's make sure that nobody did so I don't have anybody miss anybody think. Looks like we're good. And then there's the gifts and go here. And we got another yesterday with Kevin Dalton. And then there's the Spotify that everybody should be set up to follow and give a 5-star rating to. I don't care if you don't follow me on Twitter. I'm barely ever on it. But the Spotify link is right here. And the Spotify link will give you will help if you follow and give it a 5-star rating. Maybe we can get somewhere there. Be nice to have Spotify pay me. I'm nowhere near it. But every little bit helps to build this channel. And thank you to Burn Before Reading. I didn't even see you in there. That's the high five from the chest. I got to do it then. A high five from the chest. The Bellamy salute. Okay. Scene 25. Slaying of Abel or Baldr by Prince Gun Miok. Milky. Obviously all the same name. They're just doing it in the here, comma. Saint Michael or Cain in a duel, 3350 BC, disclosing the true account of that event and the historical human origin of Saint Michael slaying Apollyon, Horus slaying Set. Remember back when Horus wasn't a bad guy before the fucking Semite pieces of shit, descendants ruined the story and made Osiris a creepy dude and all this other shit and chopped into pieces, and they mystified it with the Freemasonic order and all this bullshit. Yeah, before all that crap. Before all that bullshit, Horus was a good dude. Before Crowley made him out to be some demonic, hawk-headed, retarded, bloodthirsty piece of shit. That's their demons, not us. Horus slaying Set and Sir Gawain and the Green Man. In the Battle of Eden. Sounds has a nice ring to it. The Battle of Eden. In the Garden of Eden. You know that guy. Iron Butterfly. A leading event was the slaying of Abel or Baldr, the bane of the old pre-Adamite world, by young Prince Cain, Michael, in a duel, and thus avenging the outrage on his mother and father. Heck yeah! How dare you wound me, wound my dad, steal and rape my mother, traumatize and fucking destroy our family, you piece of fucking shit. Enough is enough. This famous event is celebrated by the Central Edda in one vivid verse, though it is incidentally referred to in several other Eddic lays. The Sibyl sings, "Then came in Michael, Sigfather's son, Vidar, to fight with Baldr." So they said Vidar is like a different. Sometimes they say brother. Sometimes they say another son of Thor, of Odin, as if Odin was somebody different than Thor. They make this is how stupid the story is. This is how crazy it is. Vidar is Thor's son. Thor is Odin, but they say it's Odin, and then his two sons are Thor and Vidar. How stupid is that? Very, very stupid. Vidar to fight with Valdir, or Valdir is how it is, the bold beast, which obviously Val, right? We're talking about Baal. It's a different letter. Baldr, Valdir. Get it? Get it? Get it? So Michael laid the young Hydra, interesting way to depict him, Hydra low, and over him a moment standing, plunged his hurter into his heart, thus avenged he his father. Yes! Thus the true and historical account of the slaying of the murderous Chaldee Semite, well, I don't know if he's actually a Semite, but the Chaldee Semites is what was part of the cult. He might be a Germanic, or he could be even a little bit, could be a mix, could be a little bit of Goth, because they said he's big. The Chaldee Abel of Eden by the young Gothic hero Cain, and it is at last recovered by the British Edda. No, my friend, it's recovered at last by Lawrence Austin Waddell. Thank you, sir. Rest in peace. Thank you for your work, for helping restore mankind's true story to our pagan ancestors. Right? Enough with the fucking polemic bullshit. I'm tired of the freaking insults. If anybody's pagan, it's these freaking child-killing sorcerers who then become, oh, we're Jews now because we said so, and fuck you. Fuck you. Since Jew is not an ethnicity because it's coming from this mask that they wear as a cult, yes, there were plenty of people who were of ethnicity in that cult that would have a certain type of look to them, but that doesn't mean that that's the only people that they are. So it makes more sense that some jackass from Poland would call himself a Jew, because it's not an ancestral thing. It's a cult attachment. Doesn't make them less of the cult. It makes them just as much of the cult as they act as a cult. This traditional slaying of Abel as Apollyon by Cain or Saint Michael, as represented in modern art, is seen in plate, blah, blah, blah. In innumerable Sumerian, Babylonian, listen to this, countless Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian, Hittite, and Persian seals, all places that we established civilization, and sculptures, the hero is represented as Marduk. Why? Son of Inder, or Bel the Lord, slaying the demon bull. Bel and Baal are not the same damn thing. Don't let retards like that ass basket who wrote Morals and Dogma tell you that Bel and Baal are the same thing. They would love to believe that because they're grafting onto your religion and poisoning it onto your people and stealing and robbing and erasing your history. See their little basket head? Little looks like he's wearing a little thing on the thing. Yeah. Slaying the demon bull, lion, or dragon, and Baldr is frequently called a bull or steer in the Edda, and in Egyptian as Horus, son of a bitch. No, son of, see, here he is plunging his hurter into, well, that's his head, but, and look at this, everybody. Remember how you were told there's something so horrible and bad about Mithra? Mithra's Cain, my friend. Sometimes they could say Mithra is also Thor, but he's slaying the bull. He's calling Abel. He's killing the beast. This is Cain and Abel right here. Cain is getting rid of this piece of shit Abel, the child killer. That's Mithra. Michael. Mithra. Michael. Stop rejecting your own history. Mithra as Cain or Michael Tassio, slaying the demon bull. Remember, Tassio and Tusio are also different. From marble sculpture in British Museum after Cumont. Note the young hero with Phrygian cap. Yes, that's way older than you think it is. Of Liberty. Phrygian cap of Liberty before it was poisoned by the fuckers in the Freemasonic order who were what? Frankists and Jesuits in Masonic halls and lodges, corrupting the shit, and then they would wear Phrygian caps into the French Revolution, poisoning forever the symbol of the Phrygian cap because they were a bunch of maniacs, like going off on Lupercalia type of thing, like a wolf frenzy, murdering people at will. What actually happened in the French Revolution? You gotta watch the videos from Astrologos to see just how disgusting it was. Ears of wheat for starving Aborigines, so he was feeding the people too. Issue from the death wound. So note the young hero with Phrygian cap of Liberty, ears of wheat for starving Aborigines. This is what we did. We brought agriculture and helped teach people how to survive without the need for the dependency on whom? These pieces of shit that wanted to starve people to death, as they do now, as they always do, as these Marxist, communist pieces of shit do, these Bolsheviks, these garbage human beings, starving people out. Well, if you can grow your own food, you're a little bit better off, right? And if you have protection of somebody that's mighty and noble as the Goths, these fuckers aren't going to come in your territory anyway. And we issue from the death wound. An attendant bears the fire torch of the sun cult. The bull is defended by the wolf, scorpion, and serpent. Defended by the wolf, which is right here. The scorpion, which looks like are you sure he's defending the bull, or is he squeezing its nuts with his claws? Can't really tell if that's helping or hurting. And the serpent. Right, which means all these totems of all these tribes are helping the bull. And he's like, oh yeah, take that bitch. Oh, look who it is. A very Aryan looking dude. About to crush some motherfuckers right here. Prince Khan, Gawain, or Cain, or Michael, as Saint Michael slaying the dragon Apollyon, or Abel in modern art. Here it is again, slaying of Abel, Baldr by Prince Cain in duel. And there you go. Turn your back on your history, have everything upside down. The bull slaying Mithra on clay cup found in Lanuvium. In two scenes, the lower represents the hero overpowering and dragging along of the vanquished bull. The second is slaying, and note the wolf or lion made by Mithraists to be attached on the hero. We did something over here. I don't know where the sentence left off. And in Egyptian as Horus, son of Osiris. I may have to look at that one. Oh, did I miss something? Osiris or Atmu, slaying the demon wolf Set or Sut or Baldr as a crocodile Leviathan. Remember, Saturn, they also say is Typhon or Set. And the demon of the sands of the barren land. And that's who these Hebrew boo-boo, goo-goo, Jujus worshipped. But did even they know that was in human form, or were they more worshipful of the demonic presence that they conjured into themselves? And is that truly what the worship is? The demon presence or energy inside these people. In the Mithraeus or later form of the sun cult imported by the Romans from their conquered provinces of Asia Minor and Persia at the beginning and shortly before the opening of the Christian era, and which became somewhat fashionable for a time throughout the greater part of the Roman Empire in Europe, if you were noble, that is, including Britain, until exterminated by Christianity, the chief place was given to Mithra, a name akin to the Mitra title of the sun god in the Indian Vedas, and the Sumerian Mitra title of the sun god was given as lawgiver, and obviously cognated with Thor or Indur's Eddic title of Miot, or Mioth, or Miath. But like the later Babylonians who transferred the chief exploits of Thor, or Bel, to his son Marduk, or son Duke, Marduk, son Duke, they represented him in the form of the latter as a handsome young hero slaying the demon bull, of which is from a sculpture unearthed in London, and similar ones have been found elsewhere in Britain. But that would be true, though. Isn't that what the Edda says? Is that it was the sun that killed the bull? Loki? Baldr? Baal? So how's that wrong? Anyway, in these sculptures, it is to be noted that the prince, not king, plunges his sword into the heart of the beast, as said in the Edda, and that the bull is defended by its... Get the fuck out of here. The bull is defended by its allies, the wolf, serpent, and scorpion. Burial of Baldr or Abel by Adam, Cain, and their Gothic knights. In keeping with the high Catholic humanity, pre-Catholic, by how many? 3,200 years, basically. In keeping with the high Catholic humanity of the ethical Adamite commandments, the duty of love. I know it's Catholic with a lowercase c. They're not talking about their... I get it. In the Adamite commandments on Adam, Thor's commandments on the duty of love, the lords gave Baldr a decent funeral, sinking all animosities. Well, those are bigger people than you know what I mean? Like, I understand giving him proper burial, but he raped your wife. He's wounded you and your son. I guess it's enough that he's dead. But I would just say, just to be sure, chop off his head and then drive something through his skull to snap it in half. I'm just saying. Then give him a proper burial. Thus the Sibyl sings in a verse in the Hound's Lay. The Sibyl. There were 11 of the Asa's lords, all told. 11. Wow, that's the same amount of Haram and his sons. Maybe is that why they wanted to come back and kill 11 people in the beginning of the Purim? Huh. When they rewrite their bullshit. There were 11 of the Asas all told when Baldr kneed down on the baneful taupe. They lifted up Vali, which is Baldr, worthily without vengeance, as if their own brother, slowly him the hand slain. Here it is noteworthy that the Edda preserves the old Sumerian word tup for tomb, the taupe or thupa of the Indo-Aryans and ancient Buddhists. Lamentation of Woodinus. This is scene 27. Wow, we've done a lot today. And we started at, what was it, 22? I don't remember. Was it 18? I don't remember now. Lamentation of Wilderness and Chaldees on the death of Baldr or Abel, disclosing the real origin of the supposed dying god festivals. Oh boy, here's another way they transposed their beliefs into your worship of Jesus, the dying god on the the guy who's dangling off the cross, pinned to it, the dead dude. You can do a dance. Isn't that fucking wonderful, huh? There is no mention, of course, of any lamentations for Baldr in the Poetic Edda, that is in the Edda properly so called, as Baldr, besides being no Goth or Asa, was, on the contrary, their bane. But the Wodenist Snorri, who's a piece of shit, worshipping El, Woden, and Baldr as deities, wrote in his Prose Edda that the gods sent messengers all over the homes on the errand of bidding a warm weeping to get Baldr out of hell. Then all men and quick things wept. The earth and stones and the trees and metals wept. I'm sure they were real sad. Then, as the messengers returned, they met a person named Fake, I think it's how it is, OE, who when asked to weep, refused, saying, fuck that shit. Thanks only may I greet dry tears only. For Baldr or Baal faring to his bale, quick or dead, not will I for the churlish boar. Let hell hold what it has, bitch. On the Chaldean lamentations, the Chaldee Semite pieces of dog shit, for the death of Baldr or Abel, or Tammuz or Abel, the established son, who's the son of God. Did they just make Abel into Jesus? Ah! And the mother-son cult? Mother Mary? Oh, they call her Mary too, don't they? They call Elu Mary, don't they? Oh my goodness, huh? It's not even really all that cryptic what they did there. Of the mother goddess Iltu or Ilu or Gula, Nin or Gimu, Imi or Emi, in Babylonian records, disclosing the real historical human origin of the supposed dying god Semitic festivals and wailings at the walls. Scene. This is getting really juicy, isn't it, guys? If this isn't freaking deprogram and break the spell over people, I don't know what the hell I'll tell you. Oh, hold on. I got something going on here. Some cats. We're sending some cats, some cat pictures. Hold on. It's going to be a little bit more than that, I think. Okay, just make sure I'm not. Oh, hold on. Hold on. What the fucking nigga shit? Oh, cool. I got the number. All right. My sister's birthday's today. Motherfuckers. Flight of El, the old serpent dragon priestess of Eden. Her pursuit, capture, and slaying by Adam George, St. George of Cappadocia in England. Disclosing the historic human origin and identity of St. George and the dragon. During the fatal duel between Cain and Abel, where they made you think that Abel was a good guy and Cain was a bad man. Bullshit. Because remember, they're telling from their story, so they could do no wrong. Those Jews could do no wrong. Cain and Abel at Eden, but it's not really. But see how it's way bigger than just Jew, which is a bullshit freaking title for bullshit. It's this cult. So when you know what the cult's true nature is, it doesn't matter what else you call it. This is the cult's true nature. Anybody behaving this way is of that force of energy in our world. They don't have to, claim, hey, I'm in the Saturn Wolf Serpent Moon cult. No, they just have to be it to know that that's the entity driving force of these people doing these things, repeating the same rituals and the same initiations into their cult for loyalty and yada yada, that are running too many things right now. We had beat their asses to the ground, and now they're running us. Did you forget who you are? During the fatal duel between Cain, Abel, and Abel, we are told in a fragmentary Eddic lay entitled "The Drubbing of the House," the beating down, remember, of the House of Eden. that El escaped in a boat on the Euphrates. Whilst full ably alighting on the fell one in front. The he-goat Cain, the slippery Abel, was beating in battle, that ruffian of the Chaldees. Old Mary in her felt skins plied her helm. She took off in a boat. She's on a boat. You know, these fuckers can't do anything. Her pursuit and capture by Adam Thor are described in another fragment of this lay, and in more detail in others as cited below. But the central Edda describes her slaughter by Adam Thor as the slaughter of the dragon itself, and not merely its chief priestess, who is Thor's archenemy in the establishment of his higher civilization and reign of law and liberty. Tiamat. He kills Tiamat. They say that Marduk does that, but Marduk takes out... See what I mean? You got to go back into the Babylonian and check that out. It's in my book. She probably wore in her ritual the mask of a dragon. This Edda sings, slaying of the dragon priestess of Eden by Adam George. She came in the merry, mighty son of the home hearths, Woden's son, a-going to fight with the Orm. Dropped by Thor, Midgard's there is she, that mind of all the tailed wolf tribe, who she's the head of the hive mind. She's the leader, the mind of them all. Who stained the homesteads red. It makes me think of Passover. Who stained the homesteads red, going backwards 9 feet. The Phrygian Thor, nimbly steps from the adder. Remember, he conquered Phrygia. He annexed it. But that's, again, doesn't mean that everybody in that territory was a piece of shit. It just means that there was pieces of shit in there, and that's why he had to annex it. Because they were predominant and they were fucking with him, so he had to slap him down. Spiteful with what is this? Adam Thor as Andara, slaying the dragon. This is also shown in Ninurta. I think it's Ninurta. Just different names for the same dude. Same thing happening though. He has to fight this bird bitch thing. Yeah. It's also in my book. You should totally get the book. Get 15 copies in case you want to read it more than once. It's called Priestcraft Beyond Babylon. And also support the show immediately. Now, spiteful with venom, the nether ogres of Nar, or Nair, now may she sink. Remember, Nair is the Euphrates, or other rivers. Pursuit, capture, and slaying of the dragon. Further details. The incident is expanded in other Eddic lays, which give rather gruesome realistic details of her death, on the idea that El herself was physically the destructive serpent dragon of the waters, of which she was the priestess, and which Adam, the first great apostle of brotherly love, when? What was Adam? What was Thor? He was Jesus 3,000 years before Jesus, you say? And what was he? Was he a bitch who told everybody not to unsheath their swords? No. Did he render Caesar what was Caesar's? No, he didn't do that. He didn't say pay your taxes. Even though there's different ways he's saying that. What that passage I believe really means is give him what's his, which is nothing. So don't give him shit. Is what I think is how that's supposed to be actually understood. Is it's a way of saying the thing. It's like, yeah, well, give him whatever it is. It's his. Nothing's his. Okay, then that's what you give him. Anyhow, she, as the head of the Semitic demon cult of cruel butchery of animals and human beings in sacrifice to her blood, thirsty tribal god, is here treated as a beast herself. The records, however, are of great historical and traditional interest and importance, as they are evidently based upon remotely early written records handed down continuously through remote generations of Goths and merely modernized by the early Britain bards. That's what's important here, for they contain several additional Sumerian titles for Adam, Cain, and El, and are in agreement with and explain minutely the ancient Egyptian version of that episode on the sculptures not hitherto fully interpreted by Egyptologists. The following fuller version of her pursuit on the river, hooking and slaying, is from the lay entitled Jaime's Quoting, Jaime's Vita, which is here translated literally and in coherent sense for the very first time. The launcher of the Goths, Adam, bade the lord of the he-goats, Cain, the ruin apt of the race, to fare farther out. This on the Edenite soon told. Little fuss against this rowing made she for long. She's a weak bitch. No. With a demon inside of her. The dross jade Mary Hemi, they call her Mary again here. The mud ogress was like a whale when angled up, or more like two. But after that, from the skiff Odni Sif elders, so this is Odni, this is Thor, Sif Edder, there with while waited George himself ashore. George again. Or Guerdy or Geordie, you could say that's Geordie, but it's George, and it's also another name for Thor. Thor George. Thor George. Egging on the anglers whilst the old Ohm like a berg, the one baneful orm did Oxhead Cain gain with the barb. She the hated fay of the Goths, and with Geared over beneath they all landed. Drag did the dareful deed doer Thor, the orm, the hooded adder, up on the shore, and knocked with his hammer that high fell scarer, the awful Edenite down, the wolf brother's mate. The wolf brother. He's saying again, wolf brother as in like Abel, Baldr, mate, because he fucks his mom. The Gaul queen squealed when lambed, then that hulking dotard. The sacrificer of old, all be seemingly into the firth. She sank aside, sank that fish into the sea. Under the sea. The ancient version of the House of Eden drubbing, the House of Eden beating fragment runs. The Ean of Andrew, the keeper of his bond, shone like the moon. At the edge of the boat sheets, with eager glance on the necklaced Ursael, he stared. Now that's closer to the other thing than Yggdrasil. But it's not even the same thing in close. Then stirred he the net rope, staring on sturdy legs from aboard. Then stirred he the net rope, staring on sturdy legs from abroad. I did it again! Fucking bitch! Then stirred he the net rope, staring on sturdy legs from aboard. In front of his folk with the rowan, frowning, he laded the blowing adder. He captured the snake. Fully, because remember, she's the serpent tribe, serpent cult, totem. Full ably, he let fall his fell scotcher. Is that right? His fell scotcher Neve on her skull. A ramming maiming was that by the rowan wood rod bearer on her ear. Okay. You can see how it's a little hard to read these sometimes. By the wood cross, Jaime was lost. The waiter of Ymer's ford threw off the frowning adder, and lust was grounded by the wood cross in the running waves. So the blood lot drawing Inan or Nini was minded. And there's an Inanni, right? We know Inanna. Another Edda fragment is of great importance in preserving, amongst others, her Sumerian title of Buzur, in addition to her Inan or Nana title and foregoing stanza. Thor, thou the strong warden of Yggs, he-goats, the Aryas of Asgard, the Aryans of Asgard. Galling on Keel's skull, or Keel, also, or Kali, which is still the same goddamn bitch. Thou didst bruise Keel, breath and all. Ere thou didst drop that lout and laid lost the dread Buzier, you tethered the gape of Hangjaw. Hirokin, thou didst for. Like it says it. It's like Hirokin, right? So was the Svivaves. You read it. Svivaor. Soon beseemingly bereft of life. Laid the bruised was the leek wolf of Nar of the river, land by the thrice bold one. Stooped and stark and stepped over was the yelp dead. Stepped over means stepped on. Cain's mighty hand holds the serpent dragon, and the falling fragmentary Edda, the mighty hand of Cain holds the snare dragon, and it interprets for the first time some details of the version of the incident with great hand on ancient Egyptian sculptures. Cain herein receives his titles of Sif, Runekenner, Bauj, Bio, Ulmag, Bauj, being his Sumerian title of Bacchus, and Ul or Ale, because that's what he pours, being also one of his Semitic titles. 199, and we are here. Himself, let's see. Is this almost over? I'm not sure how much more I want to do. Scene. Okay, we'll go to there. Back to the things. Himself and Cain, Sif's rune kenner, with the trolls took their far snarer to the horn stream and got Hrimi's rear with the fish line farer, the harpoon. Got her with the harpoon. So sudden pulled the enchantress against the boat's side and ran so far over the board. The broad. Jesus Christ, now it's broad. Fuck you. Far over the broad. And harder out against the deck board that Ulmag's knave sculled over. Looking out along the brute's back, Boj watchful eyes. Remember talking about Cain. The Easter fish already at the ship, and the boot ogling at Father Thor. Meanwhile, the demon, Graham. I used to call my grandmother Graham. Demon was settled down at the touch of Bill the Baptist, who's also Thor. Remember, he's the Baptist. The hardy Baptist, the hardy. Grounded was that fish. Grounded was that fish with groaning. That nether. Hey, like Netherworld. Hey, like Minecraft. Isn't that something? Cliff smitted. Grounded was that fish with groaning. That cliff smiting woman was reft. And there you go. I'm gonna go snap some jaws because I'm awesome. Look at me, I'm snapping some jaws. All right. Thor Iendri, or Anvara, as St. Andrew, slaying the demon lion in ancient Brito-Roman art. And here we are, kids. We're at page 316. I think we might be able to knock this out in one more. I hope. Maybe it'll just be 5 this time. Adam, Erthor, Arthur, or George of the Red Cross mounts Arthur's seat on the Hill of Eden as victor over Eden and its Chaldees, about 3360 BC. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see how much time we've burned of our lives today. In the best way possible, of course. 323. Boom. Boom. See what's going on Fitij. Thank you for your content. Thank you for my content. Thank you for your content. I love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So if anybody wants to do the thing with the thing to support the show, they can do it over on this green thingy here. Bing, Or if you're over on the Rumble, which doesn't appear like many motherfuckers is, yeah, I don't know what happened. I said we pick up at scene. Oh, so I know where I started now, 18. So we did go pretty far. Loki, Baldr, Typhon, Abel, Baal, Lucifer. I just gave all the names I could. Is cast out of heaven, banquet hall of Thor by Michael Cain. Michael the Archangel, Thor's powerful son. The roots of every story retold in the Old Testament Tanakh are rooted in a Gothic Arya or Aryan conquest from 3,000 years prior to the moon cult's inverted retelling in the Tanakh. The cult of human sacrifice and pharmakeia or poisoning and witchcraft are telling the biblical stories from their perspective. We were misled, but we are breaking the spell. Bam! Breaking some spells. I feel like I'm in Hillman now. Fuck. Except I'm not saying hail Satan because I'm not retarded. I'm not going to say, hey, the guy that they're talking about in the Old Testament is evil. Hail that guy who's evil. Because he's a fucking moron. He doesn't. It's like, what? What are you doing, dude? He's definitely a plant. So go over to my website. Become a member of Dr. Glidden's membership. Use my code for 25% off. And then get your 90 essential nutrients. And before you leave, you get hot sauce, my book, and creatine. There you go. Okay? But this is the big one right here. Boom. You want to be healthy, right? You want to live long and prosper and fight the devils of this world and protect the innocent like your purpose and be strong, noble warriors. Well, get your whole food multivitamin. Okay? Get your Alaskan cod liver oil. Get your fulvic humic blend of minerals, your energy earth blend of minerals, which you need. This is the one thing that people are most deprived of, that get the most deficiencies occur in the minerals section of your nutrient necessities, and this is what causes a lot of the diseases that people get, are the deficiencies over time. And then also make sure you get your IP6 Supreme with inositol, like this motherfucker right here. All right, and then you go over here, and you see. All right, excellent, love it. Oh, and by the way, if anybody wants Ballbuster shirt, let me know. Maybe I'll make some more. And then also, here's the hot sauce, right? This one is the Toba Super Volcano. I'm not telling you to get this one. I'm just pointing it out that I have this one in my hand. So the Slice of Life is a Carolina Reaper sauce. The Toba is like its big brother with double the amount of Reaper in it. Okay? That one's a little bit... The peppers cost a lot for those ones, so that's why it's a little bit more. And then this is Blueberry Supernova with the Ultra Crazy extract in it. I only do 2 extract sauces, the Retold and Blueberry Supernova. But I still make them taste good, unlike other tards. All right. You should get sauce. Get sauced up. Give me some work to do. All right? Or support the show egregiously. I think that's the right word. I can't be. Thank you, Thomas Dwyer. 47 people now. The fuck, guys? I see 47 people. I see 50 subscribed. What is going on? I don't think all 48 of you now could possibly be already subscribed over here on FTJ Media. This is just for clout over here. I just want to be able to brag to other people. Be like, look at me. I just beat you in followership. You know what I mean? I think the top dog right now is Flood. It's probably Flood or Giuseppe. What does this say? I just got a new subscriber. That's awesome. You guys are the best. I just saw that happen, popped up. That's cool. All right, so you know what to do. I will see you mañana, maybe. I don't like to use words that are from stupid languages, but anyway, I will see you tomorrow. And oh yeah, if you ever want to add on Whole Food C complex and the activated B complex. And I will see you tomorrow for more of the British Edda. Jesus, Thor, and Vlad the Impaler. You know, the trio, the hangout guys. This is going out to the clubs in Miami, and they're about to play Nigga High Hitler. All right. Until the next time, buy lots of things and become a Patreon member. Bye. And now for you over here. Oh, looks like the chat doesn't do donations. Oh yeah, no, I don't think it does over here. But it looks like you're a member, so that's cool, Edward Snowmare. How you doing, buddy? I see ya. All right, cool. Now we have a chat. That's awesome. Good to see you, Edward. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't, because when I come over here, the screen looks like this because I'm broadcasting it, so I didn't do that one. But it's good to see you. Look, we did some good work today. I'll talk to you. Boing. Happen. Why is it still doing that? Didn't I shut it down? Why is it still showing a live chat? Why is it still doing that? Oh my god, why is it still doing it? I did hit end stream. I totally did. It's not letting me end the stream. Yes, I want to end the stream. What's going on? Why is it locked? No, I don't want to. Oh, is that how you make it? Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah. What are you doing, bro? It's not letting me end it. What? Are you serious right now? Is this still going? Hold on. Is this still going on? Didn't I shut it down? Oh, hold on. No, it's still going on. Didn't I shut it down? How do I turn it off? I know how. No,